What's up? And welcome to the TheDimStream. I'm your Beverly, and today is Thursday, November 17th, 2022. Here with me tonight is my co-host, the potentially undead ghost thing that's cursing Class 3, Alex Maselli.
When you said potentially dead, I was like, what?
I said undead.
Yeah.
And then, which was redundant when I would add it in ghost, but
Yeah.
Which I finished the last episode of that today and watched Princess Mononoke like a couple hours ago too, which didn't realize it was going to be 2 hours and 13 minutes long. So
it is a long one, but it's a pretty a lot of moving parts in that story.
Yeah, so we will get into that. Those are the two things that we're going to be talking about tonight, as far as the things that we watched. But a couple side things. You've got Missy crying, and I've got ducks in the bathroom. I was just telling Alex about this beforehand. Well, one, I've got the geese. We moved the geese to the barn. They've been living in the mudroom since we got them, and it's attached to the house. And so today we moved, because now that it's snowing, they like to go out to the road when it snows. And I'm like, well, I don't want you to be hit by vehicles, so we don't trust them. So we have them in the fence part in the barn, and they're gonna stay the night there, which I'm like makes me nervous. But then, so as they get farther away, I decided to bring the ducks even closer in. So it's too cold for them to really be outside. Like DVD can't walk, so he's gonna just be rolling in the snow. And so we keep them like in the mudroom. But then now also to get them to swim and stuff, we're giving them bathtub baths again. and then we just have this big black tote of straw that I put them in afterward, because it's like warmer in here. I don't want them to be wet and cold out there. So I was like, well, they could just sleep in here. So they slept there last night, and I might just do that for winter time. Sleep in the tote in our bathroom, and because we have 3 bathrooms, so it's okay.
Oh, yeah. I only have 1, so that's not happening.
Oh yeah, that would take up space. No, we got like 2.5, I guess, technically, but yeah. So
I guess technically I have 1.5.
Yeah. So if you hear any like raspy sounds or loud quacking, that's DVD and MTM. And like I told Alex beforehand too, I heard DVD crying, and I go in there, and MTM, she's bigger. She's like twice his size. She's just standing on top of him because he's like low enough. He's got like, in the straw and towel wrapped around him to help like prop him up. But MTM is and she's blind in one eye, so she has no depth perception. I don't think she realized where she was in comparison to him. Like, she seemed to have no clue. I picked her up, she's flapping her wings, and she's still wet, so it just like splashed me everywhere. And gosh. And today is Danny DeVito's birthday. I saw on Twitter. Twitter told me that, so happy birthday to him. I think he's like, I don't know what he is. I think he's like,
he's Italian.
No.
I don't know what you mean. Beyond that,
I didn't know like how, like, if he gets like political really that much, or like, because I think I've heard that he's like gotten preachy about stuff. I don't really know for sure. I can't remember. I do know that in It's Always Sunny, he is like willing to do anything. Like, I do respect him for just like not caring and being willing to like, yeah, do this crazy thing. Sure. So the Danny DeVito's birthday. Oh, and maybe if we have time, I'd like to watch. There's a new Spirited trailer with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, so maybe we can watch that at some point, because there's like been a few, but it's I haven't seen it yet. So, but I do love both of those men so much. So, hi Winky Winky Boo, and hi Johnny Boy.
Johnny Boy says that Danny DeVito is half Italian because he's so small. Like, when he was on Taxi, there's an episode with his mother, and the woman playing his mother is his real mom. Oh. One of the ways you can tell that is that she's shorter than him, and she was from Italy. So like, Italian people are not very tall people, by the way.
Okay, and you're 5'3", so is that? I don't know how tall.
I mean,
Danny DeVito is like 4.
Taller than most Italian women.
Oh, hello, fluffy little clouds on Rumble here. I don't recognize your username. Is this? But he's speaking with, or I assume he with such familiarity. It says, "Good evening, Beverly and Alex. Hope you are both well." I guess it's not really familiarity. Anyone who uses my name, I assume, is familiar with me. Which, by the way, I didn't expect to get like. I guess I should have expected like when you get like weird Facebook people and I guess I don't expect like weird messages from people who like I will only accept Facebook friend request if I have mutual friends in common or if I like knew them, if I met them in person, so I know. But then in the last week or so, like who was some guy, I feel like he was a bot or something, because it was just like, "Hello, Beverly J. Clark. I would like to get to know you. Do you have any like are you?" So whatever it was like this weird flirty thing in a robot kind of way. Then I'm like, who uses your full name? Like that really made it seem like you are not familiar with me at all when you use a full name. But that's just what my username is on Facebook, though. So it was just like, and then some other guy too who like, oh, we had a couple of friends in common. Like he lives in the area here, so I was just sure. But then he like was messaged flirtily, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, who? And I, like, do we know each other? And he said no, but I'd like to. Like, this is like weird. It's weird to like search people out on Facebook. Winky says, I'm kind of weird about Facebook friend requests, but check details on stream for her OnlyFans duck page. Oh yeah, I have a weird like leggy pic of MTM. I don't remember why, but yeah, she was like being flirty. Hi Coley. Welcome. Rita Perlman.
I think Winky Winky Blue was referring to
Ria. Yeah, Ria. I don't know how it's pronounced.
Who was his wife.
Yeah,
they had 3 kids together, but they got divorced in 2017. So.
But they were together in Matilda.
Yes, they were, and they actually were really nice to the girl who played Matilda, who had a really rough childhood.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
So, yeah, she was getting like fan letters from a lot of creeps that were talking sexually to her. To her, and like Danny DeVito and his wife Rhea were like really helpful to her growing up. She's on Twitter. She's got an autobiography or something, or a memoir about why she left Hollywood, and one of the reasons why is because like how horrible it was to be a child in Hollywood. And
wow, no one has ever said anything about what it's like, how terrible it is to be a child actor in Hollywood. That is a shocker to me.
I know, and to me it's so funny because like child actors in Hollywood either stay in Hollywood and are insane, or completely leave Hollywood as adults and like kind of even out.
Right. Yeah. They're able to kind of like probably get the help that they need in some form or another, whether that's, they're just like living an average life in the real world, or like getting actual like, mental health help or something.
Oh, Fluffy Little Clouds is Mr. Drummer. Okay.
Oh, okay. Hello. I don't, which name do I like more? I think I like Fluffy Little Clouds more.
It seems like something you'd like more.
What's that supposed to mean?
I just feel like you like the cutesy girl stuff sometimes,
Yeah.
Like, you like Hello Kitty and Avril Lavigne, and you're really into your ducks. I don't know. I just...
In my defense, I'm not really like Hello Kitty, she just had that song in there. I like Pachaco, who is the purple dog one, because it had purple in it. So that was, I think I still have like crayon things.
Me, though.
Saying specifically, I like the purple one. But when I was little, I think my sister, she'd give me that stuff or whatever, I liked it because it was purple. Yeah, and it's like growing up, I think we've talked about this before too, where just I used to be like, oh, like I don't want to be like the girly thing because they're so basic and that's not me. But then realizing like, oh, I'm not girl. Like I never felt girly enough though. Just like I'm tall and broad and everything. So I just like never felt girly enough. So now anytime it's like, oh, like that's such a basic bitch thing of you, or like that's so girly. Like, yes, thank you. I am one. Like I am so female. Look at me go. So now,
like I was such a tomboy as a kid, and I wasn't really into a lot of girly stuff, but I've never had a problem with dresses or pretty clothes.
I
Like
used
I
to.
love them. Uh, it might be
Yeah.
because of my artistic side.
Did you say autistic or artistic?
Artistic.
Okay. Just need to double check. I never really like I had some, but like I think that was one of the things where I'm like, no, like dresses are for girls, and I was also super insecure and never wanted to show my legs ever. But now, like I'm trying to get more of my wardrobe into clothing or into dresses and stuff, and so. But yeah, there are things of looking back now, like, wow, I wish I weren't so insecure back then. Like like I wish the me now could have lived in that time and been a lot better though. But
I did
teenage years were
wear
terrible.
yeah, well, I mean every teenager is
Yeah.
going through like a horrible time period. Like I used to wear makeup when I was a teenager. Like that was like not never foundation
Yeah.
ever. That was never my thing. But yeah, like lipstick and eye makeup and stuff. But like the eye makeup was so itchy for me. So
Yeah.
but like, I think it was sometime in like my freshman year of college where I was like, this is a waste of my money and my time. I don't really want to do this anymore. Um, so I stopped. Although I could get really good at it. Like I for like Halloween, I gave myself like really big goth eyes and like,
Yeah.
and not just like a big smoky cloud, but like shaped and everything. And
That's what it's fun. It's time consuming, but like it can be fun where it's just like because it is the art thing of like, okay, how
mhm.
I just want to like test out different things. Like, oh, let me practice stuff, but then it's also I don't want to practice too much because this costs money. And but that's what like, but even in a non-face paint stuff, just like if you're using whatever art medium, where I'm like, I don't want to waste all the paper. So digital has been nice where you're just and also being able
Yeah.
to erase things. So Photoshop when you
Yeah.
draw like, oh, I screwed this up. I can just undo it now. And that's a lot better
Yeah.
than like, here's this blob of paint or marker or whatever. And it's just there
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah, no, I get that. I used to have in college I had a couple of really big canvases that I bought and I was so like about using them. Like when you're poor and you buy art supplies, it is so stressful because you're like I can't fuck this up because I don't have a
It's
lot
a
of
limited
opportunities.
supply.
There's a limited supply here. I don't know. Like every time I watch these or read these things about like poor artists and they go through like 15 canvases in a week, and I'm like, how are you affording this?
Well, or they're like very in debt and they are not
Yeah,
spending money on food or something. They're only doing
yeah,
so probably just not responsibly living their lives
yeah.
as
I don't
artists.
know. I like food, so.
I know, me too. Never give it up. Hello, Mutter Fetcher. He's in Rumble as well. And Fluffy Little Cloud says, Bob Ross is one of my favorite inspirations. My life has been lifted with happy little accidents. Yeah. Oh, and that's an improv thing too, where they say there are no mistakes, just happy accidents. So I always like that.
Well, so I don't, as a playwright, I didn't want actors to change things or directors to change things unneeded. But if an actor goes up on a line on stage, find something. I don't care. Like at that point, I don't want you to like stagger the play. Like just come up with something.
Oh, sorry. Like if they forget the line? Is that what you
Yeah.
said? Okay. Yeah. Because like whatever it is, just like you're trying to remember, move the story forward. Like you know where the goal is, though, and if you can't remember, say something that can get you to that next part. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, I'm so picky because even with like delivery, and that's what I always think, like oh, like Alfred Hitchcock and people like that, where they're like they tell you like this is how the line needs to be delivered. And like I feel that way a lot with a lot of things though, and not everyone is good at taking that direction, and it baffles like my boyfriend and me, like we're because it's just like repeat it how I'm saying, like with the inflection, and it's
Yeah.
not that hard to do. But then when they do, like they just it's like they're tone deaf when it comes to trying to
Yeah.
like imitate. I'm like, why is this so hard?
Every time you tell me about that, I always, because I know I've heard you tell me the
Yeah, yeah,
story
yeah.
before. Like, I think of the Hail Caesar scene between Ray Fiennes and the guy who played Solo in Solo's Star Wars story. Can't
Uh,
remember that actor's name. I
yeah.
love that actor, but like he's an actor in Hail Caesar, and I like that's his part because he's playing an actor, and like he's put in some artiste sort of movie, and it's like it's black and white and everything. And Ray Fiennes is the director, and he keeps trying to tell him how to say the line. And the line is "Would that it were." That's the line. So then they're going like by the scene cuts in the middle of them just repeating the line back to each other over and over and over again. And then it cuts to and like so like all the like real world stuff is in color, but then all the stuff that is like filmed is in black and white. So like so then it cuts to like what they ended up actually filming, and he turns to the woman and he goes, "It's complicated." And like they completely changed the line because he didn't like his delivery.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love when that like another similar things too, where like I think that idea of just like, oh, they keep trying to do something, keep trying to do something, and it doesn't, and then you're just like, never mind, and like and you switch it. That's always
Like
funny.
mostly I don't like Hail Caesar. It's a Coen's brothers movie, but that scene is just it's just murder. It's so funny. Like if you don't watch any other part of that movie, that's the only part you should watch.
Okay, all right, yeah, I will add this to the list of movies to watch. Winky says, I honestly don't trust the middle class or even well off people, especially those who had easy childhoods with money. Well, it sounds like from what Alex has said, we both grew up poor. So don't
Yeah.
worry about that over here, Winky. I'm still poor. I've
I
never
grew up
been well off.
working class. Definitely. Family of janitors, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, always. I mean, like, never felt poor, never thought about being poor because we like had stuff, but when you like go off of like what level of income and stuff, though, like very much very low toward the bottom.
Well, I lived in suburbia, and it's felt like always everyone had more money than me. Like they're like, "Oh, the class trip or whatever," and I'm like, "Well, I know that's not happening. My mom's just gonna say we can't afford it." Like,
Oh.
and any like, "Oh, the drama club's going to New York for a week," and I can't. I know that's not happening.
I don't know, we never got
Like,
like I don't know, schools didn't even have trips like that. We had like day trips that
well,
we had to fundraise stuff, but
we had 2,500 students at my high school, and at my after my freshman year, they built a new high school that took like half of the
oh,
student body, and then when I graduated, it was back up to 2,500 students because it was
wow.
during the boom, the realty boom right before
Oh.
2008, the crash. So like the area kept getting more
Oh.
and more people buying houses. Most of them were people who could not afford the houses they were getting.
Wow. I think my high school was between like 6 and 800 because I think our graduating class it was like around 150, assuming like each class was that. So, yeah, small town. And then my close friends too, we were all fairly poor. Like, so it never felt like too mismatched because it was just the ones we were hanging out with. And just, yeah, making up our own things
I
to do.
had friends that were like way richer than me, and friends that were like poorer than me. But then like I grew up in Mormontown, and there were some families there who'd been like building businesses there for generations, and like
Mm.
they were all an interconnected community, which like on it I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I actually think that's fine. But like there was this huge mansion in town. It was so big, and like they're like, oh yeah, those their grandkids go to high school with you, and like some of the students who were Mormon, they had family T-shirts, so they had a T-shirt that said the family reunion of that year, and then a bunch of lists of the parents and followed by all their kids, and they were big blocks of lists,
Yeah, of course.
you know, and it covered the back of the T-shirts. Like there were several students like that in my high school, and like to me, that when I first moved there, it was a bit of a culture shock because I moved there from like urban Phoenix, so which is a completely different kind of community. It's not a community.
Speaking of Phoenix, so my boyfriend was out there this past weekend, and when he came back, he was talking about how much he dislikes it, to put it nicely.
What part of Phoenix was he in, though?
I don't know, but he was just, I think, you know, a lot of it, like, you can't have the tall buildings and stuff because, like, it can't, like, you know, take away from the view or something. And then I think, what was he saying? It was something like how things are spread out, and it just, I don't know, something about like the vibe of it
We
out
don't
there.
have to build tall buildings in Phoenix. We could just expand further into the desert.
Yeah, you can just go forever. Yeah,
we could just keep, and that's what we mostly do is we just keep expanding outward. And there are some parts, because Sky Harbor is in the middle of town, there are some parts that the FAA won't let you build buildings taller than a certain amount.
Right. I think that's what he was saying, that he was like, oh
Yeah.
the regulations, and I don't that was just one thing he mentioned. I don't think that was like the reason why he disliked it. I think that was just part of a thing. But yeah, I forget what he was. It was just I think so. I think probably just cities though too. I think he's kind of over any sort of city. So then, but like all our friends from Chicago moved over there. Some were already from there. Others just like it's where everyone went. So he was like visiting them all. But and then they're all like you know, like they're socialists, I guess is the best term to put for it. So like there were a lot of conversations where he was just like, I'm gonna sit this one out. I think one was about guns, and it was like, oh, because one of the friends was talking about like maybe getting a gun, and then one couple, they were like, well, like why would you need that? And he's like, I don't know, to like protect my belongings and things. And they're like, well, don't you have home owners insurance? Like, well, you know, like what if you have like one of a kind things, or you know, a dog, a family, like your wife or something, where it's just like those things can't be replaced with insurance. And so it's just kind of,
I rented a room from a guy once who was upset that I owned a gun because he's like, if someone breaks in, they can take anything and it won't matter to me. And I was like, you know, people break in for reasons besides taking your shit, right?
yeah.
Like, I'm a woman. I know that people break into homes and rape women. Like, a guy could break in and want to kill you. Like, you're stupid, like honestly stupid, for not considering violence as a reason they're there. And anyway, maybe they're not there for violence. Maybe they are just trying to steal something, but you walk in on them. They may kill you in a panic. So it's like, no. I was really upset with that guy. I was like, you're an idiot.
I mean, it's on one, like, I get the point, because I think like my grandmother used to say that too, in a more, you know, generous kind of way. Like if someone comes in and takes things, like then she would think like they needed it more than she did though. Like, so I mean, not that I think, you know, they had rifles and stuff too, but just kind of like in a way that like, it's not the end of the world sort of thing if it happens. But I don't think she was like opposed to, you know, also protecting yourself. So,
I mean, the Night Stalker, he broke into people's homes.
Yeah.
It's like, are you gonna run into another Night Stalker? Probably not. But do you want to take the chance?
Right. I mean, I'm willing. I don't know. Like I get like maybe you need it more, but also maybe you're just a dick and like you're willing to break it. Like you are risking your life. Like obviously your life is not worth it to you to break into someone's, especially around here where everyone has guns. I still have my revolver here.
I think it's insane to break into someone's house in rural areas or in states where you're allowed to have a firearm, like you know, where it's pretty free. It's pretty free in Arizona. It's like 99 out of 100 gun freedom rating. And so sort of like, you're stupid if you break into someone's home
do it
at that
though.
point.
They do still, like, I
Yeah.
mean, I think they were like a rural I forget where, I think I heard recently that thing, it happens sometimes because it's just like petty criminal, like, they're idiots around and stuff, so they're just gonna kids or something, but
Also,
yeah.
when I was in college, some kids broke into a gaming store in town, and when they broke it back out of it, one of them realized he left his wallet inside.
Oh, I think maybe you told me about this.
Yeah, I may have told you
Yeah.
this. I don't know if I
Yeah.
told you on live stream though. And then they
No.
burned the building down
Yeah, I do
and burnt
remember
down
this.
3 businesses doing it. And
Which
they caught them still.
terrible, and that's just like that's so retarded.
That did not happen here in Phoenix. That happened in
Yeah.
Kansas, and it
Oh
was
my
like
gosh.
so crazy. It was like so robbery, no burglary. That's bad. Sure, yeah. Arson.
Well, we already did the one thing. We'll just oh, so
Criminals
stupid.
are stupid.
They
Like that's the
are.
problem. They don't act rationally. So
That's so funny. To backtrack a bit, going through your chat here, Winky says, my high school had like 220 pupils aged 11 to 17, was in the Highlands of Scotland. No, yeah, stop bragging about growing up in like a small island off Scotland where you have tiny like it sounds amazing and I'm very envious. So,
I'm envious of how beautiful Scotland is. That place
yeah,
is
I want to go
gorgeous. Although
there.
I'd probably be
Ireland.
sneezing my ass off if I went there.
Oh, my boyfriend said that he thought he might have allergies, while I was in Phoenix too, and which when I was telling him about like, "Oh, when you're figuring out where you might be moving to, if you decide to move, you have to watch out for your allergies." But then, because 'cause I'm like, "You have them everywhere in different ways," and he was just like, "Well, if she has them everywhere, like, why doesn't he?" Like, I mean, so it doesn't matter. Like you just move in and just deal with it. But I'm like, I think but like there's certain ones that are better than others. And then I laughed at him when he was saying he had allergies in Phoenix. 'Cause I was like, oh yeah, remember when you were talking about how Alex, like it didn't matter.
I mean, I am allergic to 32 different things.
Yeah.
I have allergens in my house, and I'm not talking about dust. I'm talking about my fucking cats.
Yeah.
There are certain allergens where it's like I don't care if they're living creatures, and I'm keeping it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
like
My coworker,
I
she
was
has them.
yeah, I was worse in Kansas during spring. So bad. Miserable. I kept getting sinus infections like crazy in Kansas for the 8 years I was there. It was bad. Although when I moved back here, one of the first bad seasons, I got a sinus infection and irritated my sinuses so much that every time I blew my nose, there was blood.
Ew. Nope.
Yeah, it was bad. And and they said I did not have an infection yet when they checked it. It was like just really, really irritated.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was bad. But like the thing is though, is if you take Sudafed and like an expectorant and stuff like that on the regular, you can probably prevent yourself from getting an actual illness. Because allergies can turn into sinus infections if you're not careful. But if you take stuff to like decongestants and stuff like that, you could probably prevent yourself from actually getting ill.
Oh, okay. Yeah, hype up on pills.
I did find
go ahead.
I was just gonna say I did find a use for the masks that I bought in 2020.
Oh, okay.
I realized like they're just the stupid blue paper ones.
Yeah.
I realized that I could
never
wear
bought
one.
any masks.
I did early on because they were like making you wear one to go grocery shopping and shit, or to go to the doctor or whatever. Like here, people were doing it. But so like I wore. Now I legitimately take a new one out and wear it if I'm going to work on my front yard.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Allergens from going up my nose, and I was like, that it works on. Those particles are big enough that it doesn't actually penetrate it. So
I think we got like cheap handkerchiefs or something from like a dollar store though. I think that was the only thing. And then we were like given other like people gave us stuff. So, but I never like I personally never did. I think my boyfriend, he was the one who bought, like, the handkerchiefs, but it was just like, to use what we've got, like, I'm just not gonna and then I didn't go places if I had to,
I
so,
didn't go places
uh
either. I hated it. I was like, "Oh, an excuse not to go anywhere. Thank
Mhm.
you. I
And then
actually
now
appreciate."
especially if there are any place like some and it goes back and forth with, like, veterinarians and stuff too, but it's just like and even doctors though, if they require it, like, "Well, you're gonna have to give it to me. I don't walk around with one. If you require it, you have to provide it." Like, it's just or else it's not happening, so, um
Yeah. What I hate is that my allergist office still asks people to wear masks, and I literally had an asthma attack because they made me go off of all my allergy medication, which if you allergens can't if you're reacting to them can set off asthma if you have it. I had an asthma attack that morning, and I almost passed out from
Yeesh.
the prick test because you inject me with something, I might pass out.
Yeah.
But like, and then they were like asking me to wear one. I'm like, you want to cut my oxygen down even more?
Yeah.
You want me
Oh,
to fall down?
it was giving me because I can't breathe warm air and then it, like, covering my breathing holes. It
Yeah.
I was getting, trying not to hyperventilate, get panic attacks and stuff too, though, like, the hypoxia thing was just, like, at least psychosomatic in me, though, where I felt like I couldn't, and it just, like, exasperated when I was, like, panicking, so I can't even I can only wear it for, like, so long, 5 minutes or something, and then, like, I need to step outside to take this off to breathe, so that's why we moved from Chicago back to the middle of nowhere, because I couldn't handle it. But, okay, Pirate Tomsky,
What's
hello. I grew up, middle class, but my parents forced me into working class. They made a point of it to my benefit. Yeah, I think that's a good thing to at least anyone that like when you grow up like especially like wealthy but then just to get to understand like what hard work means especially if you one day might need to do it even if you don't what are we talking about? We're supposed to be talking about some anime but we got off topic with a bunch of
like
other things.
immediately?
Yeah, which I'm not complaining about, other people might care, but
I like my new nickname.
Alex Tamlin nostrils and Sally. Winky wants a gun too. um
You can't buy guns in Scotland.
I'm not even supposed to call him. I just refer to him as the ginger is how I'll just do that now. Anytime I'm gonna say the ginger because that's the only way I refer to him on all social media is the ginger. So I won't even say what he is. It'll sound like I'm talking about a cat probably. So uh, the ginger. Um, and then where it was Rumble. I saw that Grog. Is that how it's supposed to pronounce it? It's just like an anagram of George.
That's what
But
I think too when I
but
see it.
because on YouTube he has George Grog, but so on here like I'm just not sure if it's pronounced right. What's Mutterfetcher say? So Alex shot him. Once your house has been robbed, it changes your mindset forever. Yeah, I bet. And I would think too, like I've had a Chicago coworker, I think I've mentioned this before, who got mugged at gunpoint twice. And it's just like, then I would say, hey, I would want one, like, or I'm gonna not live in the city anymore.
I don't understand people who are victimized and then decide to stay helpless or and
Yes,
also like are then terrified. It's like if you're terrified, if you're honestly terrified after having been victimized, take steps to make yourself feel less terrified. And one of those steps is being prepared in case it happens again, which is learning self-defense
yes,
classes and getting self-defense tools and maybe getting a security system. There's ways to protect yourself, and they're reasonable, but they think they're paranoid or crazy to do them, and
right.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, yeah, and but then you're not paranoid when it's already happened to you too, especially, like, when you've been attacked by something, like, it's no longer paranoia, this is real, this happened.
Yeah. Well, and
Uh,
especially if it's something like a stalker.
yeah, yeah. Winky, yes, that is who the ginger is, which he when I've talked to him about it, he said, like, because 'cause we've joked about, like, oh, like, the fake simps who was a G-man that was
Mhm.
saying, like, "Stop talking about him," and so, like, "What do you need I need to do?" He said, was, to just say, like, "So I was talking to absolutely no one because I'm totally single, and no one said" when I was talking to nobody. So just
Oh my god, that's
he's
funny.
like the only person I really talk to, so like he's in a lot of
This
the
is
stories
the
that I have.
OnlyFans thing of not telling people that you have.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
so then I just have to, but then go to the extreme of like I was talking to my goose and my goose was saying do it that way. All right. Well, let's get into the topics we're supposed to talk about. We've got so I put Princess Mononoke up on there because I figured between the two of them, that's one that people would know more.
Probably.
Gesundheit.
Thank you.
You suggested this one, and it was a movie that of Miyazaki that I had not seen before. So I watched it today, and it was the first time I'd ever seen it. And I assume since you recommended it, you like it.
Yes.
Okay.
It's my favorite of his. I mean, like,
Is
I'm
it?
very partial to Howl's Moving Castle, but because it's more of a romantic kind of centered movie. But Princess Mononoke is gorgeous. It's kind of political in how it's set up and everything, sort of like Shakespeare. But I really like it.
I was thinking earlier today, I can't remember if I've actually seen Howl's Moving Castle or not. If I have, it was years and years ago. Like the ones I remember more, and I can't remember details much now. I grew up watching like Spirited Away because it was on Cartoon Network all the time, and Kiki's Delivery Service, and because that would play too. So like those are the ones that I watched multiple times. But it's been, I don't know how long, decade and a half or more.
I think Kiki's is the first one I saw.
Yeah. Yeah, I have, like, vague memories of it, and think Totoro was the most I saw that a few years ago, but I think that was the last one that I had seen of
I think
Miyazaki, and that
I've
was the first
not
time I
seen
saw
that
it.
one.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh, so I appreciated the Princess Mononoke, but I will say I don't think it needed to be 2 hours and 13 minutes. What was difficult for me, like, yeah, it's hard. It's like I liked it, but it was really slow paced, and that made it difficult for me to keep focused. Like the beginning, I feel like they could have cut out like overall like 40 minutes of it, and then like the first part of it, it was a lot of exposition, a lot of setting up. Them like I don't think they could have done it differently because it was it kind of I don't know. Do you know the term for a story that's like Alice in Wonderland or Peter Pan, where it's like, here's this situation, and then now we're moving on. It follows like the one, main characters, but then it's like you're just like going from one situation to another without like having an overarching plot line. So it's
That's
sort of like an anthology, but with a main character.
I don't know. Like it kind of is the oldest version of that I can think of is Pilgrim's Progress.
Oh,
And they are usually in some way every scene is representative of a theme.
yeah.
It's a kind of it's actually an older style of telling stories, more less advanced, I guess, is what I
Mhm.
would say. Um, Sorry, while you were talking, there was a bot and that I was taking care of for
Oh,
you.
I see. Okay. Hello. Where did that? I wonder why that came here. Uh, Yeah, I would just because this movie reminded me of that more at the beginning because it kinda seemed like he was like, look, he had a goal, but then it was kind of like, "Okay, now I'm at this place and talking to these people," and then that was kind of it seemed like standalone,
um,
and then now at this part here, so it just reminded me of, like, that style, and then but as it went on, it was like, here's, like, the overarching plot line, so that helped
well,
me pay
like
attention.
to some regard, it's kind of funny because I can't remember who said it, but Caleb brought it up last night when I was on live stream with him. There's the idea that there are only two stories. A stranger comes to town and someone goes on a trip, and Princess Mononoke is actually both
Oh,
because he
oh.
goes on a trip, and so because we watch him leave his hometown, And then also he's a stranger who comes to town and fucks
Mhm.
everything up for
Mhm.
everybody. He's a catalyst in this stalemate between the creatures of the forest and the woman who's pushing for this industrialization. So like the whole thing basically is a butting heads of uh, the natural world and the human industrialized world.
Mhm.
And he is such a stranger that neither of these things are like him really. And he is actually the thing that kind of like balances between the two. And that's one of the reasons why I like this movie is because he kind of he acts as a bridge. And I don't know why it's called Princess Mononoke though, because it's really more his movie than hers.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I guess it's like Zelda.
Maybe, yeah.
Because you're playing Link, but then it's kinda I don't know, that it's something but yeah, she just I thought, like, she would be more it kinda reminded me of, like, Hellraiser, because from what I was reading on Wikipedia too, like, her I don't even know if in Japanese her name was supposed to be Princess Mononoke because, like, her name was San, but I don't know if they only did that in the dub, is kinda what the Wikipedia seemed like they did it, but, then I was like, "Why call it that at all?" Whereas, like, Hellraiser, I thought that was gonna be a character's name, but then it wasn't. And that was really upsetting, but, um, yeah, yeah, it definitely was more about the guy I had no idea going into it, I've never known what the plot was for this movie, so it definitely was not what I thought it would be, though, because I thought it was gonna be about, like, an actual princess in some sort of
Yeah.
way.
Well, it's kind of funny too because this movie is a huge influence on some later movies with its imagery. Its imagery is really amazing, and I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people actually like this movie is because its imagery is so striking.
Mhm.
So like for example, Snow White and the Huntsman, which is a terrible movie, basically has a version of the forest spirit that are like it's this scene in the movie that is so clunky and just like what is it doing here? And I'm like, by the way, Snow White and the Huntsman just steals whole cloth from other movies the whole way through. So it's not like it's the only time it did it. It also stole from the Never Ending Story. So
Really?
like,
I've never seen is that the one
and
with, my god, what's her name? Kristen Stewart.
yeah, Kristen
Okay.
Stewart and Chris Hemsworth
Oh, he's in
and
that too? Oh.
Charlotte Charlize Theron.
Oh.
Like there's this they'd also stole from Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Like it just cribbed from so many different places for its imagery. It's kind of insane. Like Willow is in there. It's terrible. But like one of the scenes is definitely like cribbed from Princess Mononoke. And maybe they thought no one would notice, but I definitely noticed. Um, but it's not like I think that it's honestly so steeped in some of the older Japanese techniques that it predates a lot of the anime that like Americans were introduced to, which I like, but maybe not everybody does.
From bless you. Wait, what are we talking we're still talking about Princess Mononoke, but then Alex started talking about, um, Snow White
Snow
and the
White.
Huntsman to compare to it, and now she's sneezing a lot.
I literally just took more Benadryl.
Gesundheit. Um, and Rumble Mutter Fetcher saying Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind is great, but Kiki Slow Service is his favorite. Grave of the Fireflies, if you want to cry, Poco, if you like raccoons with giant testicles. Are these all Miyazaki films? Or is Studio Ghibli always Miyazaki, or is that sometimes different? Because I don't know. I know Nausicaa or that name, but I don't know any of these other ones. I don't remember the name of it, but there's the the World War II one about airplanes that has John Krasinski in it. That was a Miyazaki thing. That was slow. I was not the biggest fan of that one, but it was like so realistic. It wasn't like a fantasy thing at all, I don't think. I think it was just like a realistic World War II era thing about planes. I don't know. I barely remember it. Crazy cat lady sneezes. Shocker. Whoops.
Man, that came on suddenly. Like, no, it's not. It's probably not the cat dander. I'm more allergic to dust and the shit outside, all the plants.
Mhm. Yeah, move to Antarctica and then just have the tundra. That maybe won't be as
I
much
hate the
allergy.
cold.
I me too. I'm hating the snow that we have now. Winky wants you to show the tissue. So if you Pirate, I think she is allergic to the world. Also, I still need to finish I need to check out your channel too, but that link that you gave, I watched the beginning of it, but I haven't had time to finish. Had a we had to get out the newspaper because it's a weekly, and then but we only had like half the time, so I had to write like 5 different stories in like 2 days as we're so it's and then as we were like preparing other
Which
stuff too,
video?
so it's kind of crazy. The one last week, like he sent the link and I put in there. So
Okay.
just like because he started a podcast called is it Modcast on his channel, and so just I remembered that like I did have it started and then I just haven't finished it though, but I will. What is wrong with you? Yes, to Winky. Yeah, Winky, we're all wondering that. Modcast Pod is the name of his. Where were we? We got yeah, so I appreciate it and I thought, I like the themes and stuff that it had of it and then but the things that stuck out to me like negatively though, I was like the voice acting of this and even another too. But I'll get into that later. But just some of the I feel like because it's like a 90s thing, like with older animations, like I guess maybe like pre 2000s, there are just certain things where they take a lot of them like aren't animation voice actors and then maybe that's an issue but like there's like such a softness to some of the older movies when they perform that the
Yeah,
delivery
like
just kind of seems like too
the
I don't
cast is a for the dub is a bunch of big names like Holly
mhm.
Hunter, Gillian Anderson, oh god, the progressive guy. I don't remember his name. He's also in. He does a voice actually in The Princess and the Frog. He's the voodoo guy, but
Oh. Oh.
he does the voice of one of the pigs. But I
Yeah,
actually
yeah. That's why he sounded
I
familiar.
liked Holly Hunter's performance. I felt she because she does the wolf, doesn't she?
I don't know who was who. um
Let me look it up.
we have Mini Driver
Oh yeah.
was Lady Eboshi. Um,
Oh yeah. She was Lady
Claire
Eboshi.
Danes was San. Claire
Oh
Danes.
yeah, Billy Bob Thornton was Jigo.
The one that I was surprised because I couldn't. I'm like I've heard the voice and I like could just, like picture like weird characters and stuff too. But my brain was thinking an anime actors. Even though like these are Western ones, but like I couldn't. I would like I recognize this voice and I just kept thinking anime and I couldn't place it. And then when I looked it up, I was just like John DiMaggio. Duh! Like his voice is so iconic. I just couldn't like because my brain was thinking in
Yeah.
like Eastern stuff instead of Western. Like I had such a dissonance to it, but.
Actually, it's Gillian Anderson who I'm thinking of. That she does Moro, and I think she did a good job. Keith David, that's his name, Keith David. And then, but they did get like Corey Burton and Tara Strong for some of the parts. Like, so they did get some voice actors, like actual voice actors. I think Jada Pinkett Smith doesn't do a good job.
I didn't even that's okay. I was wondering which one was she?
She's
But she's
Toki.
women. Oh, right. And is it? I thought it was Gillian Anderson. Isn't it like with a weird hard G? Her name.
I've always told her Gillian
Which
Anderson.
is I prefer, but I feel like I heard, and because when I learned about it, I was really upset by this. So if I feel like, why? And then what? I think that's also Gillian Jacobs too from Community. I think they both pronounce it with a hard G, and
So weird.
which I guess I'll accept that more because at least like if you're gonna pronounce it Jillian, spell it with a J. So I guess if you have a G, then you can use the hard G. But I didn't realize I didn't realize that Gillian Anderson was in that. Like I don't recognize real actors in
Anderson was
animations.
yeah, I recognize their voices the first time I watch it. But Anderson does the wolf, and I think she does a good job because even though like it's sort of telepathy the way the animals talk, she talks through her teeth.
Yeah.
Like she has fangs. And I appreciated that way that she did that because I felt like it gave her this sort of like strength and viciousness possibly. Like she sounded like she was dangerous, and so I felt like she did a good job. I don't know necessarily that Minnie Driver did a good job though.
I think you're convincing me a bit because I did not like the wolf voice at
You
first, but like
didn't?
I think I don't know. I still don't know where I stand, but like I'm moving more toward like okay, like that's a good point because it was still like I don't know. She still had like a higher like some of the things like I think Mononoke-san probably I think her voice might have been too deep or something, and then like the wolf mom's voice was too high. Like there are certain the pitches and the tones of the voices where I'm like I don't know if I think this matches up as well as my brain would imagine it. Um, yeah, I don't know. Who played the main guy?
Billy Crudup.
Okay. Billy Crudup. Who's he? Oh, that guy. Okay.
Yeah,
I don't
the
think
guy.
he.
Yeah, he was just okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess it's one of those things though too, like we talked about before, where like voice acting is different than real life acting. However, for Gillian Anderson, she does act like in X-Files. That is kind of how because she is like very kind of like I don't know, like deadpan and doesn't really move her mouth as much either. I guess what she talk like she kind of the delivery is kind of the same of like not
She
as
doesn't.
emotive.
Yeah, she's usually pretty deadpan. Like she does the same thing as Gibson in The Fall, but she literally like locked her jaw closed
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's
in
clenching
her
it.
performance. Like
Yeah.
she spoke like this the whole
Mm-hmm.
time, and I actually like I felt like well she made a decision at the very least. She just like literally
Sure. Yeah.
thought
Yeah. Yeah.
about about how she should perform this. And by the way, Bradley Cooper did the same thing when he does Rocket Raccoon in the
Oh,
Guardians movies.
yeah.
He talks through his teeth too. Um, because he's like, well, I have fangs, so I have to
Mhm.
make it sound like I have fangs. And like to me, I'm sort of like that. That's actually like thinking about the body you're supposed to be in as someone who's just voice acting, which I appreciate.
Mhm.
It's not something everybody thinks about, especially live action actors. So like even taking that step means at least you're trying, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
But
I agree
Gillian
with
is
that.
usually playing a female character that doesn't emote much. That
Yeah.
is true. That is like almost entirely her
Yeah.
bag, which is maybe why they hired her to play the wolf back then.
Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of the other ones. Yeah. So some of the performances were fine. I mean, like especially where like John DiMaggio, like you're a voice actor, so like I think that you're more skilled in that too. So I think sometimes it works fine. Like there are like real that happens in what other Western animations where they bring in big actors and like, oh, you do a great job. But so that's I don't know if it's something that like, oh, just general real life actor to voice actor, there might be an issue, or sometimes it's just like maybe the direction that they were going with like films that were a little bit older, where they kind of like again, it's just like a softness or less I don't know. I can't think of a better word than softness. Like some of it where it's just kind of like rather than having like higher like peaks of like of emotion, they kind of like compress it where like they're sort of which I just kind of consider not great acting though because of that
Well,
where it's just like toned
I
down.
know. Like to me, like it is the sign of an actual talent for an actor to jump between live action cinema, live action stage, and voice acting. Because those three require completely different modes. And
Mhm.
some actors can do it. Like John Goodman can switch between live action and voice acting pretty well. His voice acting career is almost as long as his live action career.
What does he do voice acting? I can't think
Well,
of
The Emperor's New Groove is
Oh,
probably
yeah,
his
yeah,
most
okay.
famous
Yes,
title.
yeah.
He's
I
also
just
in
like blanking out, I'm like, "What am I" because I was thinking
yeah.
of, what's his name? But from Cheers, the Boston guy that I can't think of his name right now, but, um oh my
But yeah,
gosh.
so he's one that jumps between the two, and I think, and then a lot of cinema actors jump between cinema and stage, which
And those
stage
are very
requires you to be
different.
a lot bigger.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
you can't but cinema requires you to be much more sedate, to put
Mhm.
most of your performance in your face. So some cinema actors cannot transfer to the other two because the other two require you to do completely different things. um like some can though. I'm not gonna say that a cinema actor can't do it. Like I'm like, give him a chance. If they fucking fail, they fail. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but if they put in the effort and everything, like I mean, they talk about Mark Hamill. Say what you will about the guy's politics, but he's
But
pretty good about switching between the
he's
two.
yeah, no, very
Speaking of
prolific
voice
voice actor.
actors, Kevin Conroy died this week.
Oh, really? Oh, bye, Pirate Tomsky, thanks for joining, have a good night.
Bye.
Sleep well. Um,
Hmm.
he died?
Hmm.
Did I hear about that? How old was he?
He wasn't that old, I don't think.
Wait, I spit. What's his name? I already
Kevin Conroy.
Conroy. Okay, it's like put Thompson for some reason, and then like from the then my brain broke. Like, who are we just talking about? Oh gosh. Okay.
He's
Uh,
Batman.
yeah. He's only 66. What happened? So one thing I just saw they went to Juilliard. One thing too with it's difficult, more difficult, I think, going from, and I know a lot of people go from stage because that's like they'll go into that for acting, but I think it's more challenging going from stage to film because you're coming from like I have to project, I have to be big, like your gestures are larger, and then when you do film, you're trying to be realistic but then sometimes like you have to like sometimes you have to do like the fake things because it's cinema.
Yeah,
But
there was this guy that I really liked who was a stage actor. He was clearly a Shakespearean stage actor too, because
uh
they have a Shakespearean trained stage actors have this style about them that you could just fucking pick out. I don't know what it is exactly, but he actually did a couple of Shakespearean adaptations, like Much Ado About Nothing, the Kenneth Branagh one, which is very good, by the way. But he was also in Blackadder. He played Richard the Fourth. He's
mm,
really good and everything, but he's clearly more for the stage because he's so big.
yeah.
Like the guy just goes so big. You got another bot.
Oh, is it because you talked about how big things are getting? Block user. Okay. I don't know. Stop talking about sexy stuff, chat. blaming you guys. Wait, Mutter Fetcher says, pretty sure Tress McNeil is in there. So another Simpsons Futurama. He's Santa in Futurama. Who is Santa in Futurama? I don't know who is. I don't know who played Santa. Oh, George Egerog went onto YouTube from Rumble, huh? Switching over. Let's see where Winky. You're the worst. Oh, what was it that I saw you earlier? Winky was asking where I know Juliet. I'm gonna ban you, Winky. Which we were talking. Maybe we'll do a straight occasional levity tomorrow night. If that.
Maybe.
Juliet said maybe she can do it. So we were talking about that. Maybe doing a late one. We haven't confirmed anything. So
yeah.
we'll see. Which, I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't know if it is, it might be around 10 p.m. Eastern or not. I don't know if that work, or 10:30, if that's going to work generally for you, Alex, or if that's going to be, like I said, we'll still end at the same time or just start later. So it'll just be a shorter show.
But 8:30 would probably be, that's my time, 8:30
right,
is probably okay. Yeah, John Goodman is Robot Santa Claus.
Okay. I thought maybe you were talking about John Good.
Yeah. Because like I said, he's like, could you tell that was John Goodman just from listening to it? Probably not. Like, because he actually does put on voices for like a lot of his voice acting. Some voice actors, though, they are their voice, and some voice actors do voices, and
it works. There's some that were like, no, like you have that timbre, that iconic voice that like, yeah, like we want that recognizable voice. And then other ones, I don't know. I would say like John DiMaggio. He's someone like he can switch up the character a bit, but like, you could still hear his voice. And what's his name? H. John Benjamin. He's pretty much who he is.
H. John Benjamin, yeah. Which you can see him in Parks and Rec. He's actually in an episode of Parks and Rec.
Is he? I know he's in other things too, but I didn't realize he was in Parks and Rec.
You know the episode where Chris Pratt falls in, Andy falls into the pit, and breaks his leg and everything, and a lawyer from the city is talking to Leslie and is saying, no, you can't call it a situation because that implies that it's a situation. That's H. John Benjamin.
Okay.
And I love that episode because the line that Chris Pratt says where he's like, I could fall in the pit 50 times between now and someday.
Yeah.
To get the pit filled in. I loved that episode.
Oh man, I can't, like I vaguely, like I remember that happening, but I can't specifically remember the guy that she talked to for it though, but I forgot he was in there then.
I don't think John Goodman is dead.
No, I don't believe so.
No, he's still alive. He's old.
Yeah.
He's still alive.
Yeah. And who just asked? Winky said Joe DiMaggio. No, we're talking about John DiMaggio. He plays what's his name? Is it Bender, or the robot in Futurama?
Bender.
He played, I know him better as Jake the dog from Adventure Time. And yeah, just a bunch of different Western animation stuff.
He plays Banshee 44 in Destiny 2.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Most of these voice actors are also voice actors in video games. So.
Which I mean, especially anime stuff. But like Laura Bailey, I was sad that she moved pretty much solely to video games. She has done less anime, but like she's one of my favorite voice actors, and like I don't play enough games to hear your voice. Like come back over to but the thing, like she came back to anime when they came out with Fruits Basket because everyone reprised their roles for that anime, and which I was excited about. But then like no, like come back. I want to hear more of you.
Another like an actor who can flip between the two relatively well, since someone mentioned Archer, is the woman who plays the secretary on Archer, the receptionist. Cheryl Carroll?
Yeah.
Judy Greer, that's her name. She can switch between the two.
That's true, yeah, because I've seen her in a lot of What was she was because she was just in Halloween
Yeah,
movies,
she
right?
was. She was in the Halloween
I forgot, and
movies.
I think about her separately too, though, like that, like when I remember, like when I hear her voice, I'm like I recognize that. But when I was watching Halloween, I forgot that I haven't seen Archer in a long time. I'm so behind on that show, but like I forgot that she is in that. Um, but I think I'm stuck on thinking of her on that Mr. Potts Christmas or something. There's some sort of Christmas movie that and she plays like the romantic interest in it in this, but it's like a weird I think I've watched it a couple of times like over the last few Christmases, but I don't really enjoy the movie. But
Why do you keep watching
because I
it?
watch all of them. I watch everything on like Netflix and
You
Hulu
need
and
new ones.
Prime. I'm waiting for the new Christmas Prince ones. They didn't come out with one last year. I don't know if they're coming out with one this year. But they're just ones that like if whatever shows up too. That like they're my staples that I do watch every year, and the other ones that will like uh that I'll
I'll
watch.
send you all my favorites. Most
Okay.
of them are like classics. I don't necessarily watch news.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Most of what I watch will be like probably like 2010s onward. It just happens to be like the
Well,
ones that
then
are.
you need. I don't know if you've seen While You Were Sleeping, but you need to watch it.
No, I haven't. Uh, uh,
I have a chest that is hidden
yeah. Yeah, we're
beneath
both reading that long.
products. Yeah.
One is baggy and hiding, and I have a boyfriend, and one is I have a chest, see my cleavage in a single inches.
You can't see any of my cleavage.
This is low
Or my
cut. Yeah.
chest.
Well, that's it. It's been so cold. This room was actually hot, so wasn't sure whether it was going to get too hot in here with the heater, but it does have geese on it. So this one looks the
Mhm.
most like lemon grab, and they all kind of have the heads, the tops of them, but their colors are different. And it is a giant. It is. I have like multiple like gigantic hoodies because those are the most comfortable for me. And I was like, should I change or like put something at least a t-shirt or something underneath that seems a little bit more flattering? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. This is comfortable. So, I can't
So
love seeing
someone said it was Mutterfetcher. The Patrick Stewart is another person that's always great. He is actually he can do
Mhm.
stage, he can do cinema, and he can do voice acting. He can do all three. It's kind of impressive. Because he likes working with Seth MacFarlane, so he does some of his shit.
Ah. Um, let me see. I'm just looking at my notes now on Princess Mononoke.
Yeah, I love it. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, like it was mostly the pace. Like that's the biggest thing is pacing for me. So because it was so long, like that's just makes it challenging.
Yeah.
Timing and pacing though. So that's what like there's probably like I want to like it more, but because it took a long time to get through it though for me, that makes me more critical of it. So at first it felt like I wasn't sure. I'm like, what is this building up to? But then at the end, like I thought the end was cool and interesting. So like it got better as it went on, but that's what it just kind of like that's what I think editing. And I understand like a Miyazaki, he's very, very specific in his choices and he considers like characters and how they're like writing them and everything though. So I do appreciate that and I get it, but for me, I was just like, I probably would have liked it more if you cut out like at least like a half hour or something. Um, they're just like
I
parts to the
if
exposition.
if a movie is building to like something like really amazing and intense in the final act, I don't mind if it starts slow because then like I feel like you took me from I'm bored, I'm kind of distracted by life, and slowly like ramp things up like a frog in a pot of boiling
Yeah.
water until like things got so intense and I'm like I'm not like like you don't even know when the switch happens like I
And then
felt
when
like
you got invested in it at some point, like when
yeah.
that happened, yeah. Yeah, I think it was just that Uh, I think it was, like, a little bit like, it took a little too long for that, like, I think that would've been okay if they shortened that, like, the slowness could have been okay if they cut out a chunk of it, though, and then because at first I wasn't sure if they were building anything because it felt that, like, here's this thing, here's this separate thing, here's so and it so Yeah. That's why I'm like, I don't wanna be too critical, and because, like, I get it though, like, there was the intent, but just maybe for my brain to be, like, to keep that attention span going, like, something that either showed a little bit more, like, getting San in there sooner may have helped me, or just, like, cutting out some like, each bits of each of the exposition, or something in that, like, where it changed, like, I think the length, the running time probably would have helped for my brain. Um
Well, and, I mean, like, I'll admit that the first time I tried watching two other movies that are like this, where they do the slow build thing, District 9 and 310 Yuma, I stopped watching the first time and had to
Uh,
come back to it another time. Like, I literally, like, failed at my first attempt to watch both those movies. I love both of those movies. Like, absolutely think they're absolutely, they're so fucking amazing. But I will admit they will probably push people out of the
mhm.
movie
That's the big
in the
thing.
first act.
That's why I think, like, with anything, like, where, like, you have to grab them early on, though, like, there has to be a the incentive to keep you going, so, like, even if you wanna do a slow build that, like, becomes amazing, there needs to be something in there that, like, starting a book or whatever, like, you just there has to be even if it's just characters or something, like, maybe if I just cared more about oh, I keep forgetting even the main character's name. Um,
Ashitaka.
yeah, and, so, like, maybe that would have helped more, like, if he had um, I don't know, like, more, like, deeply emotional need in it where, like, he wants to solve his problem so he can something, like, really be able to prove himself or, like, try to make it back to his village or, like, even though but then because they're like, "You can never return," he's just well, now I'm like, I don't know, like, there just wasn't enough, like, gravitas for him to do outside of like, I get that he's gonna die, but then it was like, "Oh, do I really care about this guy?" Like, there's no I don't really have emotional investment in him, he's just kind of there, so maybe that might have helped me, like, if you're gonna keep that slow pace is, like, get me to care about him more, or you just kind of, have a little like, shorten it up, or and again, like, I'm not I understand that it's not the direction the movie goes, but just for me generally, having, like, more funny like, funny lines and stuff, that will keep me going, like I've said, like, if something makes me laugh, then I will enjoy whatever it is, so maybe just having, like, m more laugh lines throughout. If you're gonna have it slow paced, if the my brain will refocus if you do something funny. Um
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine, I'm just reading chat. I don't know, Coley says like, I'm not listening. What do we oh,
Oh my
we got the
god,
box
another one.
again. Woo! 3. Block user. Um, let me see. What's Mutterfetcher saying? Oh, Juliet is on a date with that Ross guy at the zoo. Ross guy. Um I don't so yeah, like I said, like overall, I think like I like Miyazaki and I think like his style, like just the writing and stuff is good. Maybe I would have liked it more if I watched it in sub, but had the copy of the dub instead, so like maybe that might have helped. Um, but yeah, it was. I think, and I need to rewatch these, but it probably just because the nostalgia, I would probably still I think maybe Kiki's Delivery Service, even though I think Spirited Away was the first one and the one that I watched most, I think maybe I like, as far as my can remember, like, emotionally, I think Kiki's might be the one I like the most.
I think Kiki's is the one that I dislike the most out of the four I've seen. I really like Howl's Moving Castle because it had like a lot of it's actually an adaptation of like a European novel. Um,
Mhm, I
so
think I've
it's
met
kind of
that.
a really interesting Japanese take on like some of the European fairy tale kind of topics, which I think is really cool. But I don't think it's a very tight movie. Um, but and then Kiki's Delivery Service just I don't know, maybe it's so childlike. I can't really.
When did you watch it?
I think I was 25.
Okay, see that maybe because I did watch it as a child, so maybe that's why like my memory of it, like I said, the nostalgia fact, like Spirited Away and Kiki's, I watched when I was young, and then when it played on Cartoon Network and stuff. So, and that's
Well,
and I
yeah,
have
I
not
would.
seen them in like 20
Yeah,
years, and so I
like I would say maybe. What is it? What is that? Oh God, that's gonna drive me crazy. It's like adventures and it's an adaptation. I just don't remember what it's called.
Hmm.
This one I watched as a child. It's an animated movie. It's the one where the kid goes to bed at night and it goes to sleep at night, and his bed travels to another realm. And there's a man who rules that realm who's a lot like Santa Claus, but isn't Santa Claus. And there's some black goo monster behind a door. I want to say it's like Adventures in Slumberland.
You don't know. No, I know.
Yeah, it's Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland.
Oh.
I watched this one as a kid. I would honestly, so like this one is pretty big in my like childhood. But the problem with it is that the scary black darkness thing gave me nightmares for life.
Really?
I'm not even kidding.
I've never seen it. I know of Little Nemo, but yeah, I never. That's funny though. That it's the things that will give nightmares. I always think, or the silliest things though too, because like I can watch a bunch of horror movies and be totally fine, but then I always remember that like the cartoon Jimmy Neutron, there was the one episode where the dad has a ventriloquist dummy, and then it like slowly zaps the dad's energy and it comes to life, and I wasn't scared of it. Like I was totally like like, oh, I know, whatever the episode, but then it gave me nightmares after watching, and I'm like, why? I wasn't scared of it, but it just brain's weird. Hi, Stevie J.
I like that movie Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland, which I know is an adaptation of a book. There's a black goo monster that like takes over areas and corrupts them. That along with it's a Tool video, like the band Tool. I was, for the longest time, I was having nightmares, and when I would have anxiety attacks, I would have the same like visual problem over and over and over again, where something would be like smooth and beautiful pink flesh, and then it would turn black and crumpled like it was burned, and like I had no idea where this came from, no idea. And years later, I'm like 30, and my mom goes, "Oh, there was this Tool video that came out when you were a kid." That they had to take off the air because it was giving kids nightmares. Is where this pristine doll was being attacked by a burnt doll, and I was like, I don't remember this video at all, but it clearly had an effect on me.
And others too. I mean, hey, dolls are terrifying. I hate dolls. So yeah, like
Speaking of dolls, another has shit tons of dolls.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, I think I'm kind of I think that's everything I had for Mononoke, so we can move on since we have like 40 minutes left anyway, for you. But first, I wanted to respond to Stevie J too. He says that on a channel I didn't recognize. I've been pushing this channel while it was on Unsafe Space to Stevie J, so you're like out of the loop because I kept saying that we were moving over here since Unsafe Space are going into more written content and stuff though. So that's on you, my guy. We're here. We're also on Rumble, but yeah, since Unsafe Space is doing more written stuff, we moved over to my personal channel, and then this is the link just to the Rumble video that we're streaming on too. Occasional Levity is going to solely be on the Rumble channel, so we will be, again, we might be streaming tomorrow night, but we are going to figure out like official day and time, and it will only be on Rumble. So if you guys want to watch that, we'll be doing more news stuff with Juliet. But that will only be on Rumble because I don't want to get banned on YouTube, and I will end up not censoring myself enough for it.
And Winky Winky Woo, why can't you see Stevie J chat to make sure your chat isn't on top chat?
Yeah,
You
but
want it
I
on
think this
live
happened
chat.
before too. I thought he said before that he couldn't see Stevie J for some reason.
Did Mutter? I think Mutter Fetcher found the Tool
Whoops.
video and shared the link to
Oh
it.
no.
No, I'm not watching it.
Oh my gosh, I want to watch it. We don't have to watch it now, but I will definitely.
No, I got over it. Like, it stopped happening. But like, maybe because when I found out what it was from, but when I have an anxiety attack now, that doesn't happen. But like,
so should we watch it then?
No,
okay.
let's not.
Wait, this is a playlist. Which one is it?
Yeah, that's true. That is a playlist. It's all the Tool videos. Oh.
Okay, I'll have to watch all of them then because I don't know which one's which. But all right, let's talk Another. Another is a like 2012 anime, a short anime series. It's like 12 episodes long. There is an OVA I saw on Wikipedia, but I haven't watched it. So I think it was a prequel thing. So the story is a class in a smaller town in 1977 or whatever year it was, like 26 years ago. Because I think it was supposed to be like 1997 or something, or 19 whatever the year was. So like 26 years ago, a classmate died horrifically in a house fire. The whole family died, and then they're like, oh, and it was sad. But then one person pointed to the chair and said, like, they're not dead, they're still here. And then the rest of the class pretended that they were there. And then after that year, like they took the class photo, and then that person was in the photo, like you could see them. And then after that, like the class 3 was cursed because each year there would be, what was it, one or like not enough desks because they would have an extra person and they didn't know why. And what happened was someone who was dead was in the class with them, but no one knew that they were dead. Like that, the person didn't even know that they were dead. And so then, and the curse was that like one person per month would end up dying during while the extra person was there. And then so a way they would combat it is to ignore, like act as if one of those people doesn't exist. So they would just completely ignore someone to help like stabilize the curse and people would stop dying. So that's what's been happening like every year since then of class 3.
Yeah, and when the weird new person comes in, the problem is that everyone's memories are altered. All the school documents have been altered. So there's no way physically to track from evidence which one of them is the dead person.
Right. This ghost curse thing has all its bases covered. So it somehow like it does really affect everything. And then so the current time, the new kid comes to town, like he doesn't think that he's ever been there before. No one has memories of him, and he has no idea what's going on. And slowly there's a girl that is being ignored and he doesn't know why, but he happened to already talk to her before he started school. So then the class itself, like they were wondering like, how do we handle this, because he's already talking to her, and it kind of, they think that he's the reason why like everything devolves and people start dying. But then it's probably like when he talks to the girl, she thinks that it started before he even got there, that the curse was already starting because her sister had died before that. So the whole thing is like spooky
because it's not just
the
students that die. It could be their siblings or one
any
of their
like
parents.
immediate family members, and yeah, what it was like second degrees or something for it. So and then it's students and anyone involved in like teacher, student, and their family members and stuff, like so anyone could be affected during this. So it's a horror mystery what is the fantasy thing too, with the supernatural. I guess supernatural is the word I want, the horror supernatural. And so I had watched this years ago, and I have always been like, anytime someone wants a horror anime, that's one that I recommend, because I just remember I accidentally spoiled it for myself, and maybe I won't spoil it here for anyone who hasn't seen it and wants to, though, because like it's a big twist at the end, and I was sad that I accidentally spoiled it for myself. But then Okay.
kind of funny is that like I started watching this. I had no idea what to expect. You said it was anime. I didn't know it was horror anime. But I'm like watching it and I'm like, this thing is creepy as fuck. Like every scene, the music, the pacing, it's creepy. It's very creepy. And like the first death was so shocking. Like I cannot believe, like I stopped what I was doing and like did that, like I do it when I live stream sometimes. I gasped and covered my face. I was like, holy shit, I was not expecting that at all.
Which one was the first death? I forget.
The first death is the umbrella on the stairs.
Oh yeah. That is one that I think about now and then, just generally, like I will remember.
I mean, it's the deaths are like usually like some sort of accident. It's very Final Destination.
Yeah.
You know? But better done than that.
Yeah.
When the murdering starts happening, that was the part like I was like really like, wow, this ramped up because everyone got really paranoid. This is like part of it's about their paranoia. They're like, who is the dead student? And I was so impressed by how it like was able to move through those settings, like of the mystery in the beginning, and then when you know the answer to what's going on, because you're following from the perspective of a student who has no idea what's going on because he just moved there. And so like it starts out mystery and then it turns into like, oh, who's next in a Final Destination kind of style, and then it turns into this paranoia as they all like try to find the dead student.
It really does. Yeah.
And I was like, those three phases, it switched on a dime between the three, but it didn't ruin it for me. Like I felt like those switches felt natural. Like the progression made sense to me, and like kept me really interested. So like for how short it is, it does a lot.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm glad you enjoyed it then, because it was super creepy. That's what I had said too when I'm like, I haven't seen it in years, and once I rewatch it, I'll be like, "Oh, that sucked. That actually was not a good thing. I shouldn't have recommended it." But as I started it, I was like, "No, like this is still creepy. Like this is as creepy and how they wrote the story." I think it's a little unfair though too, just as a like in a mystery perspective as like someone reading anything where you're like you can't really figure it out that because their memories are altered, so it's just kind of like it's and I mean that's fine, but it's just kind of like, oh, that sucks for you, like you can't try and like figure things out though, because like it comes together at the end when they're like, oh, I remember seeing you here, and like why would she remember that and he doesn't? They're like, oh, because her memory was altered, like, and she's starting to remember because she's dying now, I guess it's like going back to her as she dies, and so that kind of thing. And I don't know, I definitely thought it was still good at being creepy, and I think anime, they just tend to do that, or like I'll say Asian culture can do horror a lot better than Western.
They are like, this is something I've noticed. They sometimes have characters change on a dime that they break. They break and they become sort of insane and angry, and I love it. I love that about Asian storytelling, because I'm like Western storytelling just does not do that. It doesn't have a person just lose it and become like an evil, cackling, crazy person. And I'm like, no, I think that is a real thing. People have dissociative, like, moments in their life. Yeah. So like it happens.
Yeah,
they have psychotic breaks. Yeah. But like it happens in this with a couple of the students, and I liked that. I loved it. I do have a question though. I'm not going to say so the dead person in the person who turned out to be dead, they show the point where she dies, and I was sort of like, what just happened there?
I know they kind of made it
murdered,
not clear, but from what the way they phrased it, and then when I was reading it later too, I don't know where they got that, but it said that she was stabbed, and so I think she was murdered by someone, like, and then fell into the river, or maybe he was thrown into the river. But
Who did it?
I think it was just a random, or like it wasn't clear, but it was just kind of like, oh, part of the curse, though, like where the other accidents happen, but sometimes people are also murdered because of the curse. Or
I found that really weird because the murderer looked like their main character, but it couldn't possibly have been him.
I was
Because
did it show who the murderer was? I thought it was like part of the flash, but I have to rewatch that, because I didn't even see where, like, she got stabbed. Like, it was just like, oh, her. I thought it was the main character as he was remembering seeing it happen or something. So
it was that part was confusing me.
yeah, no, I definitely agree. But oh wait, oh, there's a film of this. Oh no, I did know that there was a live action film. Oops, another anime series. But yeah, like, it was unclear because they kind of skimmed. I wish they went a little bit more into that, though, to just kind of see the flashback in full. That way, like, oh yeah, she definitely died here and she's no longer alive, so she can't be existing right now.
The thing that kind of made me laugh, though, is the point where, like, the disaster is happening in the school trip and the old lady is attacking one of the students, and someone pulls the old lady off of him and takes care of her, and then it turns out it's the librarian, and the librarian turns to the student and goes, "This is not normal." And
yeah.
I laughed out loud. I
know.
I was like,
duh. Yeah, no, I remember that line too. I was like, why would you say that? Like, what a stupid, either bad translation, or
it has to be
initial. If that was the original dialogue, though, too, like, then change that. Like, maybe that it makes more sense in Japanese, but like, don't just. Yeah, that was bad.
He says it so sedately.
It's not normal.
This is not
like,
normal.
Do you see what's happening to this giant building burning down now? And like, out in the blood everywhere. Like, yeah, man.
No, yeah, really. It's like, why are you? And he says it like with no emotion at all.
Yeah. Oh, that's what I'll get into the voice acting. So similar to Mononoke. I think the voice acting for some of the characters was terrible. Like, where's the Mononoke? Okay, I didn't remember it being that bad, but I don't know if maybe it was also in just watching, where we watched it online, if some of the mouth movements didn't match it, but some of it too, it was just like nope, she opened her mouth there and then started talking, like, and it matched up the rest of it. There was just like where they didn't care about translating it enough to like match the mouth movement completely. They just kind of like let the gaps happen. So then there's certain ones, like the main character, I never remember his name, so I have to look it up. Greg Ayers plays him, but like I hear his voice all the time in it, and I like him. I think I thought he did a good job performing, but I was also thinking, I don't know if his voice matches the look of the character well enough. Like, I think he's a good performer, but similar to Mononoke, it was some of them just like, oh, like, yeah, I don't know if your voice matches the body for what my brain thinks. But like Monica Ryle, however her last name is pronounced, she played May Misaki, the glass-eyed girl. Yeah. And she's in everything. Like, I love her because she's like Mirror Jane Fairy Tale, and just like in a bunch of different things. But she like helped cancel Vic Mignogna though too. So like, I don't like her in real life, but I really like her performances. And I had to look up the name too. Brittany Karbowski. She was Yukari. She was like one of the short-haired girls, the friend of the long-haired, the countermeasures, the whatever. So she was like the friend on the side, the countermeasures girl, whatever her name was. I thought her voice acting was terrible. Like, I didn't like her performance at all, and it kind of sounded like, the recording sounded different. It sounded like it was a home recording or something that was just dropped in. Like, I don't know, like she
spoke so quickly, like,
yeah,
for everybody else.
Yeah. But and even when she was facing away, like, someone would ask, and maybe that was the character though, because like, I forget what it was. She was facing out the window and just saw her from behind, and someone asked a question, and like barely before they got to finish, she was just like, yes. And like, why why did that timing happen? Like, you could have put that anywhere because we're not seeing her mouth. So maybe that happened in Japanese, but like, so I guess that could just be the character, but the voice actress just made it not great. I was not a fan. But the Brittany Karbowski, I know her, and like she's also in Fairy Tale, and she's the lead character. And that time I got turned into a slime or whatever. Yeah, it's such a long name, but yeah, she plays the slime. So like, yeah, I had a lot of people that I or a number of people that I liked, but then the other ones where I was just like, this acting is bad, and the mouth movement and stuff too. Like so I was kind of annoyed by that, but I love this show. Like I thought it's such a creepy series. And all right, on a side note here, Winky is still struggling. Yeah, I remember this conversation before where he can't see Stevie J. And Winky, go into YouTube because that's where you have the blocks. Where you go, like somewhere in YouTube Studio, and then I think there's in like permissions or something, right? You go to settings in YouTube, permissions. No, not permissions. Somewhere. Automated filters, hidden users. Oh, I've hidden a lot of sex bots. Somewhere in there, I think there's like, yeah, I think it's in YouTube somewhere where you can block people. I just can't find it. But yeah, you might have, maybe you somehow accidentally muted or blocked Stevie J.
There is a novel from the 70s for this.
Yeah, it was based off. It was like a 400 some page novel that it was based off of, and I was trying to think of like how that would be, like, or because it was serialized, because it was serialized into a manga or whatever, and then anime. And I was trying to think of like, oh, I wonder how you would do it in a full book, which I guess maybe the movie takes after the book more than two. Like you just have one ongoing story. I want to spoil it just to talk about it, but like which we normally do. I don't know. There's just a thing where I'm like, this is a good, when it's like, this is something that I recommend, and I think the twist is important, so then part of me doesn't want to. But like, just the characters of the dead girl of it, like I will say that like I wasn't really like the voice change in it, where like, oh, why why did you deepen your voice like that?
Yeah, I know.
So I thought
to make it hard for
everyone. I get like to trick. Yeah, you're gonna trick like the viewer, but then I'm like, in real life though, like who does that? I mean, I guess maybe on the flip side, like when I was on the phone earlier, when I was like doing newspaper stuff though, like trying to schedule whatever interviews and things, but then like I do have like a hi, like I'm chatting up here trying to be more likable, and then I was like lowering my phone to hang up, and the ginger was mocking me because he was like, this is my phone voice, and afterward I'm like, I hadn't hung up the phone yet as he was like saying that. So like, hopefully she didn't hear anything, but it is true that, oh, I'm trying to put like, not fake, but just trying to be more pleasant and sociable. So I guess like maybe when you're, and depending on your job, like I'm going to be more serious and you're going to respect me, so I'm going to speak like this, even though at home I'm talking like this.
I thought that was so weird, like that. I don't know, it was strange. That to me felt maybe a little broken because they deliberately hid stuff from us.
Yes,
that the main character knew, and that bothered me. But
yeah, mm-hmm.
I know, like that kind of was like,
I agree. Where like, oh yeah, she knew the whole time, and yeah, because when you're following a main character, like then you should know what he knows, and so then keeping it secret from the viewer, like you relate to the protagonist the most because like you're the one that's with him the whole time, and so then when like, oh, here's this twist that he already knew, like, well, that just seems like cheating a little bit.
Unless the main character is crazy, like is kind of disconnected from reality. Like Black Swan is a good example of that. It's first person limited throughout the entire movie, but she's losing her mind. So like we can't trust most of what we see in that movie.
Yeah, what's the name of that? The untrustworthy narrator.
Yeah,
the
unreliable narrator.
Unreliable. Yeah.
Yeah. So like if you set it up that it's going to be an unreliable narrator, and like you start dropping clues throughout that it is an unreliable narrator, by the end it's obvious they're an unreliable narrator, that's fine. But that's not what was going on here.
Yeah.
There was nothing that showed him as an unreliable narrator. It was just
you just felt like lied to at the end. Like,
yeah, they just cut scenes short that kept going apparently.
Yeah.
And he just didn't we didn't get to see those parts of the scenes until later, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cheating. Maybe some people are okay with that, but I wasn't.
No, I agree.
Otherwise I mostly enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah. No, I agree with that criticism, but like, and that's, we'll criticize everything though too. Like, yeah, there's gonna be something I dislike. So overall, it was really well done, and I recommend it. But there's kind of like a, so that you just didn't tell me this part, huh? Like, keep it a secret, okay? Fetcher says I should start wearing a Newsy hat. Well, send me a Newsy hat then. Maybe I have one. I don't know. I've got a lot.
I did think it was actually kind of cool that the whole thing about cell phones throughout. There was a theme of people having cell phones, but them not working well.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting, because like a lot of this story is about only getting pieces of information, and even in cell phone conversations that shouldn't matter that much, like some of the ones with his dad, when things are getting cut off and staticky. So I thought that was pretty cool, because they didn't only get staticky and hard to hear when it was important information.
Right.
It was also when it was like unimportant information. So it was like, oh, you played that part well.
Yeah, didn't they say something too with the curse and it affecting things like that?
With the tape, like you can't hear the voice.
Yeah, it cuts out. Yeah, it'll erase things. Like the name of it and the person and stuff. And then the dad, though, I kept wondering too, where it was like, something seems weird about that, because every time he would just be like, it's so hot here in India over the phone. And it just made me think, like, are you stuck in like, maybe is he the dead one or something though? Like, why is he just like, are you in hell right now? Like, why does he just keep saying, like, it kind of just made it creepy because he kept repeating that every time he left, and he just was always so like jovial when he'd talk though. Like, I don't know. I feel like that was just a separate horror thing that was going on, like this other TV series that might be going on.
With him in India.
Yeah. As Coley says, got a little annoying mildly. For me, I kept thinking after a while, just finish the sentence. No one can manage to finish a damn sentence.
Oh yeah, I'll admit the part where the girl with the glass eye, May, is like, I can see who has the color of death on them. I know who the dead person is. And he's like, who is it? Like, he grabs her. He's like, who is it?
Like,
and then someone bursts into the room. I may have murdered someone. And I was like, dude, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Who is it?
If they're dead already, it doesn't matter. But then at the end too, they were saying like, well, I guess it wouldn't have really mattered who, but it did, like, at the time when you didn't know that you have to kill the person who's dead. But like, especially once you did learn that, like, why would you not be like immediately saying it too? So yeah, there were some parts where I was just like, you probably should have written it differently, where like she just didn't know. Like, yeah, I don't think she should have known, and I don't think she even really needed to see death that much though either. Like, I'm trying to think if like it really mattered, because like you didn't learn anything from her. She never revealed anything. It was always kind of like after the fact. Yeah. So I don't think
I was like, oh, it's so convenient.
Yeah.
May's like weirdness honestly was a little much. She clearly has like an antisocial personality disorder,
Mhm.
which is fine. But when she takes it so like it goes into like a cartoony sort of caricature of what an antisocial personality disorder looks like. And it was like, yeah, like while they're all running for their lives and stuff, she's sort of like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, dude, show some emotion. like
Yeah,
like
she just
it's
kind of
just
like,
she doesn't even like run. She just sort of still walks. And I was like, honey, there's fucking
They're trying to
flaming
murder you
beacons
right now.
falling around you, and yeah, people
Your
are
whole
taking
class
you.
is trying to kill you.
Yeah, like run.
Yeah.
I felt that was so weird. She was honestly maybe the weirdest part of the show in
Uh-huh.
not a good way.
Yeah, no, I get that because even just, like, in general conversation, like, I get maybe she was traumatized, like, I mean, later on, everyone was losing family members or dying themselves, and they were kinda taking it like troopers, aside from the ones who got crazy at the end, because like, the one girl who, went unhinged, she lost, like, her family and stuff, like, everyone just kept dying, but for May, and Koichi, they're talking and he would, like, ask questions, and then but she would something about her or something, whatever, and she'd just be like, "Oh, really?" And then not answer it, and then they would just move on, and it's one thing for, like, her to not want to answer, maybe say it, but then Koichi doesn't even, like, care, like, he, like, doesn't say anything about, "Hey, I asked this question and you just ignored it. Can we address that?" Like, he just moves on to the next thing, though. So I think I was more annoyed by his behavior, and, like, maybe that's a Japanese culture thing, like, maybe they just drop topics like that, but I was like, "Why would you?" Like, "Alright, we're moving on."
Yeah, like the other students treated her more like she was the weirdo she was than he did. Like
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, Cully says she was supposed to be the obvious ghost.
she
Yeah,
was, but
yeah.
she wasn't. Like
Mhm. So she had to be, like, the weird one though too, because it's like, "Oh, yeah, like, are you actually dead?" Which I think it was fun as the viewer to watch, like, Koichi, too, where it's just like, "Oh, is she a ghost?" Because everyone is treating as her as if she doesn't exist. He's the only one who's talking to her, and, like, no one will admit that she exists, though, so he's just, like, super confused, like, "Am I talking to a ghost right now?"
I did love this. It's very important that you follow the class rules. Not that we're going to tell you the most important rule, which is ignore that bitch.
Uh-huh, yeah. But if you fail, like, we expect you to follow the rules, or you just won't get to know which rules they are.
Yeah. I thought
Um,
that was like, wow, you guys just immediately made this impossible.
I think who is it? Someone mentioned earlier, just for unreliable narrator, they had Fight Club, um, and, oh, yeah, Stevie J, which I still have not seen, and I still need to watch that movie, and then Muddy Fetcher also said Big Fish is a fun, unreliable character. I haven't seen that either. Bruce Willis was a
Big
ghost?
Fish is like uplifting
Oh, okay.
and nice, whereas Fight Club is a little dark.
Yeah, so I will watch
It's
both.
good.
I I had never seen Sixth Sense until a couple years ago, and I mean, I obviously knew that, like, I spent so much time never knowing Fight Club, and that got spoiled to me not too long ago, but Sixth Sense I always knew, so then and I finally got around to watching it, and it was just kind of like I wish I didn't know because I wanna know if I would have wondered, why is Bruce Willis only ever talking to the kid? Like, he never talks to anyone else, or, like, no one or at least no one ever talks to him is the big thing, and I wonder if
You want to
I
know if you would have figured it out.
yeah, just been like the only thing that was, like, close to it was he had a scene with his wife, right? And or like that because she's going to the anniversary dinner, and so it just makes it look like she's ignoring him,
Yeah.
but instead she's just alone, and because he's dead. So, but yeah, the whole time I just kept wondering because 'cause I'm like, "It seems pretty obvious," but it's hard because it's obvious though, but I'm like, and
Okay.
I thought it was weird, why was he hanging around this kid so much though? Like, you're a therapist, like, why are you following him into, like, his school and things? Like, that's what that I thought was really weird.
So I watched that in the movie theater when it came out.
Mm.
I literally like went and saw it, and it was like, I'm really good at figuring things out. Like I figured out Shattered, and that's a movie that like has tricked a lot of people who
Really?
really
Oh,
good
don't
at
tell me. I haven't
figuring.
seen it.
Okay, it's this stupid 80s movie, but it's got a good like yeah. Yeah, I did not figure out The Sixth Sense. I didn't. That one was surprising.
Really?
And actually some psychiatrists, especially for kids, do house calls because
I
they
was
try to
fine
get
with
into an environment that the kid is going to be
no,
comfortable
I'm fine
in.
with him being at the house, but he was, like, at his school and stuff and walking around, like, outside with him. So that was a thing that I kept thinking was weird. But, like, doing a house call was okay, but yeah, I don't know. There was just, like it just seemed like you're spending too much it's like your own personal aid kinda thing was weird, but because he was a therapist, that's what it kept making me like, I feel uncomfortable with their relationship.
Well, and then, by the way, Coley, for an unreliable narrator, had mentioned Shutter Island.
Oh, yeah. I that's one I actually have seen, not in a long time, but I thought I did like that film. I thought it was fun too.
That one was good.
What is
I
so what
like the ending of Shutter Island quite a lot
Shattered,
too.
the 1991 film, is that the one? A psychological thriller
Let me
with
make sure.
Tom Berenger, Greta
Yes,
gotcha, okay,
yes, that is it.
okay. Well, I need to leave that tab
And
open.
this is the thing about 2 seconds before the reveal, I said it as a joke.
Yeah. Yeah, doesn't it always happen? You're like, "Oh, what if this thing happened?" Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was like, what if this thing what if it's this thing? I'm like, I think what I said is like, turns out he's blah blah blah,
He's this the whole
and
time.
I said it as a joke, and then I
Mhm.
sat there and went, wait a minute, that totally could be the fucking answer. And then as I was thinking that, reveal, and I was watching it with someone else, and she had seen it before. She was like, Alex, you're gonna love this movie, it's so good. And when I had said it as a joke, she like whipped her head to me like, what the fuck? She's like, how did you nail that? I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It was a joke, but my brain figured it out, and I didn't take it seriously at first.
That's I always think it's funny because 'cause it'll be, like, ones like, "Oh, I'll figure stuff out that, like, that aren't obvious," and then the most obvious things, I'm like, "I did not see that coming at all." Like, I don't know how, but or everyone else did, but it was just like, "Nope, totally over my head."
I'm
Um,
usually pretty good at figuring things out. Like another kind of cheated. I but I still they didn't see, that's the thing. Part of I think with if they hadn't cheated, I think I still would have been fooled, honestly. If they
mhm.
hadn't cut that scene short early on, I think I still wouldn't have figured it out
Even
because of all the rules they had set up.
uh-huh,
The rule that like it's like, well, it's supernatural. You think you know the rules. You don't necessarily do know the rules. Like, so for example, they don't know how they can stop it. Someone
mhm,
claims that they figured it out years ago. And that's the thing is that like it could be different than what you expect. That's actually normal in supernatural shit like that, where it's like, oh, I know, we figured it out. We know the rules of how the supernatural thing works, and we'll solve it. Climax happens, you were wrong, everything goes to hell. That's normal because it's not. It's supernatural, so you don't necessarily know what's going to go on. So to me,
right.
like, I feel like I could have still been tricked if they had, even without the lie in another, and that kind of bothers me because I feel like that
Yeah, because the so that let's just say, like, that relationship trick, um, I feel like it didn't super matter. Like, if you did know about it, I don't think that would have necessarily made you suspect anything differently too. So I don't think it was actually a necessary twist at that part. Um, yeah, so I think you're right. But so still won't say the twist.
No, this is one I don't want to
ruin for people. I feel like it's 12 half-hour episodes.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely worth watching.
Yeah,
I do think so.
Right. Yeah. That's what, like, despite like criticisms of like specific things, like, oh, that could have been different. Like, overall, I think it was a good creep. If you want a creepy horror, then still make my go-to recommendation. Another one too, I forget. Oh, maybe just like sort of unreliable narrator. Not exactly, but the When They Cry, or I think Higurashi, When the Cicadas Cry. So if you haven't seen that, it's based off of a video game, and it's good, but like I don't, I'm not sure how much to explain without spoiling it, but like it kind of resets, like something horrific happens and then it like resets, and you don't know why things are resetting, like they're back in the whatever first day of school or whatever, but then like one character goes crazy and stuff escalates, and then it resets, someone else goes crazy, and then it's just like, why is this happening, what's going on? And it has a couple seasons long, and it's good, like it has a whole, so maybe we can watch that for one of them, because I should rewatch it every few years or so. But yeah, I guess that's a good way too, because I don't think I've actually announced this on the streams though, but how we were kind of trying to go for like each week is like a certain theme. So we have like a horror theme, which I think I might combine with like horror, thriller, maybe mystery in 1 week. Then we're doing comedy, and then we have animation, and then maybe like fantasy, sci-fi. But I also want to include somehow too all the recommendations that we get to watch things, just generally all the movies I haven't seen. So we need to include that somehow. We're like, hey, we're gonna watch, Fight Club or whatever, where it's just like, here are these classics that like everyone should watch that Beverly has never seen before. So we can include that somehow too. But I feel like doing animation, that's a good way, like anime is a good way to also get extra horror in there, because there's just a lot of good horror things. So we can double up on horror for that. Winky horror thriller gay shit. Yeah, so I think that's all I have for another, and it is almost 11 now too, so we should wrap up so Alex can go to bed. Is there anything else that you have to add about that?
I don't think so. Well, okay, I will say this. I brought up Final Destination because the deaths are all accidents, really. And it's more like these are real accidents you could see in real life.
Yeah.
And I think
It's
that
like, why is that umbrella so sharp? Like, why do like
I know.
that pointy?
As gruesome as that first one is, that one is the most Final Destination one, because I feel like it is maybe a little too far. Like the elevator, totally, that would be awful. That would be so bad.
Mm-hmm.
That crane that comes into the house, that would be pretty rough too. But like the umbrella, which is the most shocking one, is probably the most unrealistic. But that's what makes it so shocking.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Letter Fetcher brings up all-female pirates movie.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, yeah, I forgot.
We were going to talk about that.
We were. Okay, so we'll hurry that up. Make Amber Heard the female lead. That's hilarious. Yeah, I happened to hear on the radio. I had no idea about that at all, that they were even considering doing a female lead for Pirates movies, and how like Johnny Depp wasn't going. Like, I thought with the whole Amber Heard thing, they kind of were like, "Whoops, our bad. Let's bring Johnny back into everything now," because like it seems like pretty like my one friend, like she's kind of wavers on like certain like political things, but like even we were joking about Amber Heard being crazy, because she was making fun of how Johnny Depp kind of looks like a lesbian now at the moment, and I haven't looked at him yet, and I was like, do you think maybe it was because like the trauma with Amber Heard and everything that happened to him, that maybe something is changing for that? So but she agreed, like, and at least seemed to agree that Amber Heard is not in the right. So I just heard on the radio that they were canceling. What I didn't even know about was that they were going to have a female-led movie of pirates, and like Disney decided that it probably wouldn't work out. Like, well, duh. I don't even know. I think I've only seen the first 4. I don't even know what the 5th one was. Did I see it? I don't remember.
I've seen all of them.
How
I
many
don't
are
remember
there? Are there
Dead
5 or
Man's Tale that much. So there's the 3 main Pirates movies.
Mhm.
Second one's absolutely atrocious. Followed
I thought
by
it was
Stranger
fun, though. Like, I hated the ending, but, like, it was funny, though, so that's what I loved about it.
And then the 4th one is On Stranger Tides. That's the one with the mermaid and Penelope Cruz.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember that one.
And then the 5th one is Dead Man's Tale. That's the one with Jeffrey Rush again as Barbossa and Javier Bardem.
Is there like a replacement Will? Like, there's a young guy. And
both of the other 2 have a replacement.
The 4th one does too.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's why I don't know if if I have seen the 5th one though. Like, so maybe it was just the 4th because it was like the replacement Will.
The Dead Man's Tale I hardly remembered, but this is the funny thing is that Penelope Cruz and Javier Bardem, who were in separate Pirates movies, they weren't in the same Pirates movie, are married.
Oh, okay.
And she was pregnant while they were filming On Stranger Tides.
Oh, I can't remember.
Like she's got a slight belly, and they're like trying to cover it up with all the pirate gear and everything. Which is why when all this shit came out with Amber Heard and stuff, Javier Bardem and Penelope Cruz stuck by Johnny Depp.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, like a lot of people did. Like Johnny's exes did. Like so many people who do him were like, yeah,
Winona Ryder and the mother of his kids.
Yeah, you're like, this is not what he's like. So then, like, hey, I mean, I feel like people who know him intimately would probably, like, if they're saying it, then I would be questioning this on its own. Like, yeah, you could change maybe some, but like, you know,
it's not like Sean Penn, where every single one of his exes says he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Avoid.
Especially when you have exes who are still like supporting you and defending you. Like that means that like, no, whatever happened between you guys, like, and you're still willing, and you're not saying like, no, he sucks, I hate him though. Like you're like, no, he's not like I think someone who you've like separated from and still defends you, I think that means more than your friends, your current friends and stuff though. So like, especially when it's about a current romance or like a recent romantic interest who is the problem. So when other ones are like, no, he wouldn't do this.
Well, that's the thing. A lot of his exes said Johnny Depp has problems, like he does. Mm-hmm. He has addiction issues.
Yeah,
and they were like, but abuse is not.
Yeah, this is not one of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
like that was. They were willing to acknowledge that there were reasons why they didn't want to be with Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And that he had flaws, but this was not one of his problems.
It's the same thing where like anytime, like, okay, if you're for any topic, and this happens everywhere too, where like, I'm going to make up this thing because and even though there are other terrible things, like I'm going to say this thing happened to try and make a point and like hurt this person or this entity. But then when you find out that you lied about it, then you're like, well, now I don't trust you. Like now the stuff that like is actually wrong with it makes me more like I'm just gonna question everything though, because you decided to make up this part here, like when the real stuff was enough. You didn't need to exaggerate and say more. Like now everything's gonna be like, you know, soiled from that.
Well, and things that Amber Heard admitted on tape alone made her like the worst person between the two of them, because like I don't like. And from everything that I studied about like abusers and abuse victims, like she was the abuser. Like I really feel that like strongly she was the instigator. Because here's the thing. Like, first of all, first evidence is that like none of his past relationships were abusive. And he's had a lot.
And that's huge. Yeah. He got around.
Yeah, he did. He's been around for a while and he's dated a lot of women for long periods of time. And not a single one of those relationships was abusive. That means the catalyst in this situation is fucking Amber Heard. So, like, to me, that alone, but then the way she talked to him, oh my God, like, it was terrifying to listen to the way she talked to him. It was
I still haven't really heard them, but like, yeah, I just heard people saying, I'm going to put this from Mutterfetchers. And speaking of soiled Amber.
Yeah.
But
like,
yeah.
Some people who worked with abuse victims and some prior abuse victims are like, oh no, he was the abuse victim, she was the abuser. From like everything that they saw and heard about from the evidence, they were like, no, that's my like. And like one of the reasons why I feel like we should talk about this is because the 170 different organizations and people in feminism have come out in a letter defending Amber Heard recently, and it's like, fuck every single one of those groups and people.
Wow.
I
really?
mean,
yeah, there's
a lot of them
are denial.
I know. So a lot of them are feminist organizations who believe in the Duluth model of abuse, which makes it gendered, which makes it impossible for him to have been a victim of a female
like white
abuser.
people are the only ones who can be racist.
Yeah, the Duluth model is only men can be abusers and only women can be abuse victims.
I mean, that is, when you look at like physical abuse of stuff, though, that's clear. I mean, like that's so provably untrue.
Yeah.
Wow. So anyway, I mean, I think any reasonable person agrees that like Amber Heard is cray and Johnny Depp was not, for whatever faults and flaws that he does have, the abuse thing wasn't it. So he should be brought back to like the Pirates movies and things. But I think he read too that he probably won't want to, because like Disney, you know, they burn bridges with him. Like he's probably, I would be salty if I were him towards these, but they were like considering bringing in a female lead for the movies, and it's just like, the movies were successful because of him. Like I don't care, even though I probably didn't see the fifth one, I think because they were like, I don't know, just kind of going, it was like, I don't know, it wasn't enough of like he wasn't, I don't know, and the writing was getting worse, but
he said just something about he would return to Pirates of the Caribbean if there were if he got $300 million and like 1,000 alpacas, I think. But he was joking. He was basically saying no way in hell, because there's no way in hell they're going to pay him $300 million to do another Pirates movie, and because they won't make that much money off of it. But then like, and then at the same time, like they're not going to get him 1,000 alpacas. But like he was basically being facetious.
Would he do it?
Oh, I know. I made a joke about that, like on one of our TMRs, like when we were first talking about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp trial, that like Bob Chapek is trying to get together 1,000 alpacas. Yeah. But like, I need more alpacas. But like, yeah, Johnny Depp would never do it. Like, and I don't blame him. First of all, those weren't good movies.
Yeah, he years ago he said that he will always do Pirates movie, like he'd go on to like 20 of them or something, because but yeah, I think there's a point where you're like, well, I mean, I would if they wrote them better. But then like even just today's culture of how they write things, they're like, no, they're not going to be good. Even if it wasn't specifically, even if you still included, they probably would kind of have like, here's this female lead that's sort of like taking over, like he's gonna, I mean, I guess I could see a mentor mentee kind of thing work out, though. Like I'm okay with that concept as like you get older and you find someone else, and I'd be okay with it being a woman or girl or whatever, though, too. Like, but I would be hesitant on who writes it, because then it would end up being preachy and bad.
Well, one of the big problems is that they don't write women well now.
Right, exactly.
Like when they do write a woman to take on the torch, they don't tend to write her dynamically. She's usually pretty flat.
Yeah, she's gonna be perfect already, or no, I think that's pretty much it. I think she's usually just perfect. Like you don't have like
perfect and maybe a little mean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're kind of condescending, though. So then you're just like an annoying character, though. Like, why would I like you? And you're good at everything already. Or just this Mary Sue who's kind of a bitch.
The 80s to the early aughts is the golden age for female strong leads, because those are the ones that are the most dynamic. You have Hamilton as Sarah Connor. You have Sigourney Weaver as Ripley. Yeah. You've got Buffy, you've got Xena, you've got Aaron from Farscape, and then there's all the women on Firefly. I mean, like, there were so many amazing options for female characters, but it's like they fired all the people who knew how to write female characters, and now they have like robot committees making them. And it's like, I have never met a woman before. Should Wonder Woman have sex with this man she just met? Well, people like sex, so yes. Like, it's like terrible.
What's
and it's like, should the character be a bitch to this person who was slightly stuck their foot in their mouth? Yes.
I wonder. I mean, I would imagine that they are women who are writing these, or somewhere along those identifications, because then they want to be like, well, like, no, they need to be perfect. But I could see guys doing it too. When I was doing some sketch writing with a group of people, the one guy, he was kind of like taking the lead of it, and there was a girl, one girl in me, and like she had this, like, the funny part is usually like someone who's flawed, and then like sucky stuff might happen to them, and then you write a lot, like sometimes kind of in like a similar perspective. So then, like, we might write female lead characters in a scene because like I am one though, so like that's just the perspective I come from. So she wrote one that was pretty great, that it was like I don't know, something that they're at a restaurant, and it was just like a lot of stuff that kept happening, like, oh, someone needed her chair, but like, so she just like had to give it to them even though like she was using it, and then like, so like bad stuff kept happening to her. I don't remember if it was her birthday or like the one other girl's birthday, but whatever it was just like, here are all these things that kind of keep beating you down. And it was funny because it was like really upsetting to like, oh, this poor thing. But then the guy who was like the lead writer, and the other guy that was there too, they both kind of felt like, oh, like this seems kind of, it's upsetting though. Like, and I think, I don't remember if they outwardly said it, but it was just kind of like having a negative ending for the female character was like kind of taboo. And but she and I were both kind of like, but it's funnier. Like, it's funny to have this like sucky ending for her. But the guys were the ones who were kind of like, oh, I don't know about this though. And that was a sketch at Second City. There was a scene where like they had this whole thing about like women and men versus men in like Hollywood, and they had whatever the conversation, like asking questions at some sort of panel, and like, is it true that like women over 35 will, like, they can't get jobs when they're getting, and so it was funny. But then at first they made it where like it kind of sucked, like the women ended up having like they went out on a low note, like things were terrible for them, and eventually it changed where they ended up like winning the scene in the end, and like kind of like putting down the guy, however it ended. But I was like, this is less funny that they win now. Like before it was funny because like that was the humorous part, is like how much this sucks. So I don't know, like, but that the change and trying to like build them up, especially in comedy though, I'm like, no, like it's funny when someone trips and falls, like that's like that is just how it works.
Well, they have that thing about punching up versus punching down, and it's like, actually, you know what? You are more impactful with your point. If even in comedy, if you're trying to make a commentary on the idea that maybe things suck for this group, if you continue to make it suck, like in an ironic way, at the end, you actually make people go, yeah, like that was hilarious, but I still think we need to make things better. Like you like, versus having them win in the end, you're actually telling everyone, all right, it's okay, you don't have to do anything. And I find that, like, from the point of view that they want everyone to be an activist over these situations, I find that like really dumb. Like, you made Mulan, the live action, you made Mulan perfect and everything about her is perfect, and it's like, well, then it doesn't fucking matter. Like, no one can help her. Like, like they do this thing where it's like, when you give them everything in the end, like, all right, then I guess I don't care anymore. You finished it. Like,
or give them everything in the beginning where it's just like, oh, you're already great. Like, yeah, like, why do I need to watch? Like, you have no real arc. I'll see.
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
It is. So Mutterfetcher mentioned Sigourney Weaver in Galaxy Quest, and she's a badass in that. And I agree with you, Mutterfetcher. I love her in that movie, and I love the character arc in that, because like one of the running gags of it is that on the original show, Sigourney Weaver's character just repeated the voice, what the computer said, and then she realized she was doing it at one point. She said, "Oh my god, I'm doing it," and like they don't like make her the hero of the movie. She's not actually. Like the hero of the movie is Tim Allen's character in the end, but like you still like feel like good for her, like because in real life that's not how it worked. It just worked like that on the show, and I thought that juxtaposition was nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while since I've watched it, but like I vaguely remember it. And I'll say with the punching up and punching down, I think that works more in stand up, but then when it comes to like sketch and improv, like I think that kind of gets thrown out the window. That like it really depends. I mean, especially depending on the situation, like because they're trying to do like the diversity thing though too. But if you have like a black trans woman who's the boss of something and who's a dick and is doing all these terrible things, like and to an employee who's a white male, like that dynamic is like who, and I guess it's subjective though too, but like you in each scene you have like you can have a certain the hierarchy though too, like so there's going to be someone who might be more dominant than the other, and so it really just depends on the personality that's going on. So I wouldn't even just say like I don't know. I think they try to punch up and punch down just based on their immutable characteristics hierarchies or whatever, or the choices that they have too, but where that don't matter as much as like just the specific situations that they're in. But then I don't even worry much about that either. Like uh, I think it's just like I go like whatever's the funniest thing that can happen here though, and that usually like and that will be sucky. When I do improv, I usually like I'm gonna end up trying to make myself the low point, or like I'll make fun of myself and like put myself as like low as I can and things. So because I think that's more fun, and like and you do it with like a smile or something though, I'm like yeah I'm the worst like that. So then you're not like upset about it when you're watching it.
The whole that show When I Met Your Father, the character, the Helen, I think her name was, the Asian
by Tian
adopted
Tran.
girl.
Yeah, I know her.
You knew her.
Mhm.
Her character was like always failing.
Yeah.
And anxious, but at the same time very upbeat. She was the only character on that show that I really, really liked. Even though she was a bit caricature.
Which is just how she did like all her sketches at Second City.
Yeah, but I liked her.
Yeah,
I actually liked her, and a lot of the jokes about her made me laugh. So yeah, I felt that one worked. It's funny too because she was like the Asian adopted, like anxious lesbian, and I felt like she was the most interesting character on the show, not because of the lesbian part or the Asian part, but because she was so anxious uncomfortable.
But she made jokes about those things too. She made jokes about being Asian, about being lesbian, and that's the thing. Like now that's why she was still funny at Second City. Like she was willing to do that. I've mentioned before, she had a joke about like dating some girl, and that girl had yellow fever, and she's talking about how like she always dated a bunch of Asian girls, but like just being willing to make like certain jokes about yourself like that they stop doing now because you're like, oh, we can't mention that, or like, oh, like we can't be negative toward women or toward lesbians or whatever. That like that's just a no. But like so she with her I think she might have had like some preachy stuff now and then, but overall like she was able to have like the fun caricatures in the scenes at Second City. And I'm glad that she was able. Yeah, she's definitely like the best one in How I Met Your Father.
Yeah. It was what I found really funny was the whole dynamic that she was from a rural community and she just got divorced from the other lesbian in
the only other one. Yeah.
Because there was only one other lesbian. And it was like, well, then you definitely needed to like go to New York or San Francisco to find more lesbians.
Right.
Your dating pool needed to be expanded. I mean, it's hard enough to find a date as a straight person in a small town. Like it's not like there's so many rom-com books and movies that take place in small towns, and there's always like 1,000 hot guys in this town, and I'm like, yeah, sure, that's how that works.
It's they live in Beautyville, super sexy state. And
they're all like perfect men too.
Yeah.
Like they open car doors for women and stuff. I don't mean to shit on romance stories. I like them. I enjoy them quite a lot, but they are to me like an escapist fantasy. I don't find most of what goes on in them to be reality for
right. But then sometimes that's nice though too, because it's like, well, reality sucks. Like most of my media that I want is that like I want this as escapism because I want some like I love extra happy endings though. Like because real life, everything dies. Like I want someone where like you got everything you wanted and more. Like I want everyone to be happy. But yeah, so like I would say that like for sure for any romance thing, like yeah, of course you want this guy who's going to be a lot more romantic and giving and stuff too, because like most guys aren't going to be as like emotionally understanding because like men and women are different, but then you want to write a character who like, oh, I get you more, and like, well, that's less realistic.
I do appreciate that some romance writers literally think of a commitment flaw, something for each character, for like in like the man and the woman, that they think of something that is going to like that each of them has that will be a detriment in their attempt to have a relationship. I appreciate that because that's you want to build some sort of conflict. So making it something like someone had a shitty home life growing up, so they don't trust a good thing when it comes along, so they self-sabotage, or someone doesn't want to commit again because they just went through a divorce, just some shit like that. Like I'm sort of like, I think if you're a good writer, you come up with shit like that. If you just make things like contrived for when they fight or whatever, like then I'm like, I'm probably never gonna read another one of your books.
No, because like that, you're right. Like, okay, if that was your personality, like that was your character, and you had these issues, and that caused the fight though too, because of like whatever is going on before, and not just like here's this random fight about something that came out of nowhere. Like, yeah. But if it was building, if it was always kind of there and it wasn't a problem until it is a problem, and like
exactly. I want that to happen in romance novels that I read and movies that I watch. Because I feel like that's realistic, but it's also not the flat realism that comes from like literary writers who they're not trying to entertain you. So like usually the characters come off as pretty flat. I hate that about realist novels. Those writers are so boring. And I don't like, it's like, could you like say what you will about genre writing, but genre writing knows what it's doing at the very least. It has goals.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, to wrap up then back with Pirates. So it was just they were going to have Margot Robbie as the lead, and then then she said something about how I guess Disney decided they didn't want to do it. Like, well, duh, yeah, because like maybe they finally realized this isn't going to work. Like, no one's going to actually want to watch this, because I think the Pirates was originally successful. You had, I think, both males and females interested in it. I think, if they were like me, just in love with Captain Jack Sparrow, really, really into him. And then like the guys probably like the action stuff though too. Like it was funny and action. So then you switch it to a female lead who's most likely not going to be written well. You're going to lose the guys' interest in it because you probably see yourself in it. And then like the girls who are like, oh, I don't love her. Like, maybe you can kind of relate. You might be able to, you can do it and like, oh, I relate to her. Like, I want to be the badass person. So that's possible. But like your demographic is still going to be more limited. And you just kind of know now that like it's going to suck. The writing's going to be bad. So I don't know if Disney is like waking up and realizing that it would be terrible and they don't want to waste that money, or if there was a different reason.
like Margot Robbie is actually very good at action. The things she's capable of doing with her body is quite impressive.
Yeah.
She's not a bad actress. I'm not gonna claim that like she's not a good pick. I know a lot of people like are like, Harley Quinn. The thing is, though, is that the Harley Quinn that they write for some of the movies is really bad, and that's not really on her.
When she ran up the elevator or whatever,
wall,
like just like the
that.
physicality, like I mean, like her being able to do that, she is impressive action wise.
Yeah, and she actually literally did stick the key into the lock with her feet in
the you mentioned that.
Yeah, so she's impressive. She's dedicated. In a like a not quite Tom Cruise level dedicated, willing to throw herself out of a fucking airplane, but pretty close to that. Like she works her ass off. So like I appreciate that, and the problem is that she is a star in a time where women are written really badly. That's not really her fault, but they are not written well, and it just kind of sucks. Like and most of the time, the decision to do a female-led movie nowadays is not because someone has a really brilliant idea.
Right.
It's because they're trying to fill some sort of woke quota.
Right, yeah.
And that's not like, if you have a brilliant idea for a female lead, go for it. Like, I'm not saying don't do it, but if you actually, from a writing perspective, have a brilliant idea for a female lead, it shouldn't matter. Because we've seen it happen before. Like I said, Ridley and Sarah Connor, brilliant, absolutely great. Xena is very good. That was a breakout role. They did not expect Xena to be like as big as she was. You can do it. Buffy was huge, like Buffy was really good. You can do it, but you have to have a brilliant idea. This cannot be, I'm going to take this old thing and I'm going to like change it in stupid ways to make it about women. Like, you can't do that. You have to actually have an idea. And right now, no one has an idea for a female character. And it that's why we're seeing like MCU and, this idea of, the idea of doing a freaking female pirates movie, which, there were tons of female pirates in history, sure. Like, okay, here's the thing. You want to do a female pirates movie? Make a movie about the Chinese female pirate queen who literally had a bigger navy than China. And actually, like, when she decided to retire, like, made a deal with the Han dynasty to give her navy over to them. Like,
yeah, that sounds awesome.
Like, she's a real person, okay? She existed. So it's like, there's something to that.
Yeah. Well, with China, I think Coley mentioned with Mulan earlier too, that it's just as far as well-written characters. Yeah, there it is. The first animated Mulan movie had plenty of character, with Mulan herself having a solid arc, and the song was pretty catchy. That's probably one of my favorite. That probably is my favorite Disney princess movie.
It's amazing. It's a really good Disney movie.
I'll Make a Man Out of You is like the best song. We would sing it all the time. Yeah. That was our song in gym class. That was our theme song in our gym class. It was our group where we had Team Knock 'em Down and Kill 'em. We made t-shirts out of it. We were all girls, but we wanted I'll make a man out of you. Be a man. Our logo was a flaming fist. It was awesome. But Mulan was great. That, like, she was flawed. She didn't know what she did. She needed help from her magical animal friends, and and then she grew. Like, but she also like put a little bit of herself in when she toughened up, and like,
it was a struggle for her. It wasn't easy.
Yeah, she worked hard. Like, and she eventually got better in training.
Yeah, and she was always smart. That's you
can have you can have like skills.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, you need a balance between flaws and like positives in a
Mhm.
character.
But you can also overcome flaws too. Like it's fine
Yes.
to do that. Like and you it's still good to have flaws, other flaws though, but like you don't have to always stay like super imperfect, but you don't start out perfect. It's that you have that growth somehow. And because like people like flat characters just aren't going to be as interesting and like, yeah, I want to see character development.
Yeah. People are bringing up strong female characters from video games. Speaking of which, so this is before I got involved in the culture war shit. But back quite a while, I used to read the Cracked.com, which was a huge
yeah.
And they had something, and I actually wrote about it for my blog back when I had a blog. It still exists. You could actually go read it. But there was this one photoplasty, which their photoplasty was community entered things on a subject that they, like meme looking things on a topic that they brought up. One of them was about female characters and when they were bad, and two of them stood out to me, and I brought them up in a blog post that I wrote because I was like, these are bullshit. One was Ellie from The Last of Us. They said, oh, she started crying as soon as Joel showed up, and I was like, you're upset that like a 10-year-old who's been alone during a zombie apocalypse started crying when she saw another human being who was an adult? That you think that's sexism and not just a factor of circumstance?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure a boy her age would have started crying too. And then the other one was Elizabeth from BioShock Infinite, which is an amazing video game. I absolutely so good. Wherein they were talking about how Elizabeth like just follows around Booker DeWitt and like throws stuff to him, and like how that was like he's constantly trying to save her throughout it. And it's like, she's not Ashley from Resident Evil 4, okay? What's going on here is that she, yes, has some amazing powers. She can rip like the fabric of the universe, essentially. But that's all she can do. Other than that, she is a totally normal woman with no combat skills whatsoever. So the fact that people are shooting at them, what her one skill is actually not that handy.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you do that, now what?
Yeah, really.
Also, matter of fact, earlier.
We just wrote Leon in the chat because I mentioned Ashley.
They Came Together is my favorite rom-com, said Matter Fetcher. Yes, I do really love that movie, and that's such a David Wayne film. If you
know that one.
Oh yeah, if you haven't seen it, you need to. It's oh my gosh, what are anyone's names? It's Amy Poehler. There we go. Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd, and then directed by David Wayne.
Seen the poster.
Yeah,
not watched it though.
It's fun. Like I recommend it. Maybe we could do that for comedy for next time. Although we're coming up in December, so even though we have the themes, we're gonna probably be doing mostly Christmas stuff in December.
Yeah, probably. We should do Christmas horror.
Yeah. Oh, Santa's. What was it? Oh shoot! There's a new Santa horror movie coming out, and I forget what it is. Santa's Sleigh was already one that has been out, but we can watch that. And what is it called? Santa's. I think it's a pun, but whatever it is, watch it. Yeah, Santa's a Christmas horror, Christmas comedy, Christmas. What are the other ones? Animation. Oh my gosh, are we gonna have to watch Polar Express? That one gives nightmares. That one is nightmare inducing. What else? And then Christmas, like fantasy sci-fi or something.
Yeah, fantasy or sci-fi. Well, I mean, like one is Krampus a horror movie?
Oh yes, yeah, we can count that. Yeah. No, Stevie J, that the Santa Sleigh is one that's an older one, but there's a new one coming out that I just can't think of. What is Santa horror film? I just saw an ad for it too. 2022. Violent Night. It's called Violent Night. And it's and it has Hopper from Stranger Things. He plays Santa. So we watched that. And then, definitely then or what's it called? The Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds movie too, if that's out in time. So maybe we can watch those. Yeah, okay. But as far as next week goes, next Thursday is Thanksgiving. So we're gonna skip the stream, and which is like the first Thursday I will not be streaming since like March. I haven't not streamed since then. But yeah, since it's Thanksgiving, I don't work on holidays. Even though this is like easy to talk to, but like we won't do that. So again, tomorrow night we might stream. We'll keep an eye out. Oh, I wanted to answer too. So I think Stevie J was asking what I felt about other improv places. So I just wanted to answer that real quick. Groundlings, UCB, and Improv Olympic. Well, they can't call it Improv Olympic anymore because the Olympics sued them, and it was like Steve. No, what's his name? Not Steve Carell, the other one. The host one, whatever his last name is, his brother was a lawyer and he had to sue. So now they just call him IO, which IO closed permanently at the time, like a couple of years ago during COVID, and they got BLM'd with like black problems. And so, but they think they got bought and they reopened. So Sharna isn't there. But I took classes at Second City, IO, and The Annoyance in Chicago. So if you know The Annoyance, those are the big three, Stevie J. UCB, I read a book on how they do it. I liked their style of the games and stuff. And I've watched like Amy Poehler because they started it and did all that. So I've seen Ass Cats and I like them. I just they didn't really have that in Chicago. Groundlings was in LA, so I didn't really have that either. But like from the little I've watched of videos, like I like those, but IO was actually my favorite one. Second City, when I took classes there, IO was the best. My favorite teacher, he taught at IO and Second City, but he was the one when I started at IO, and he was the best person ever. I took him like every chance that I could. And then we also ended up playing hacky sack a lot, just in off time. We would like the group of us would meet up because the ginger would play. Like I never did hacky sack before, but then they started playing. Our other friend played, and then I joined in. And then I could do knees. I'm good at knee stuff. But
I don't think I've ever played hacky sack.
I've got so many. I've got like a bowl of them. Then when I started collecting stuff, but yeah, IO is because they had the like I learned how to do tags. So when you can do like quick scenes, and it's just like the tag outs, like you do, like I'm a werewolf and hanging out with grandma or whatever, and then you tag out the grandma, and you're like now you're a werewolf at a grocery store and you're doing checkout. So you play that same character, but then you change the situation they're in, and I love like that's my favorite thing of just being able to jump from one scene to another, but you're using like the same characters and you just get to follow them. Like now the werewolf is having to throw a party, and like what's he gonna do? And like so you just kind of see like all the ridiculousness. So IO helped me out with that. In Second City, they had so many rules of like don't do this, don't do that, don't, and it was really like I don't know what to do now. Like you keep telling me no, and you're not allowed to say no. But at IO, that same teacher, he was the one who taught me when I asked him about that, like, because like the characters are allowed to say no. You just don't want to say no to the world. Like if you're offered an apple, you don't say it's an orange. But his example was if you come across like a homeless guy and he offers you a cup, do you drink out of it? And you say no, because it's a cum cup. You don't drink out of the cum cup, was what he told me. So yeah, like that really helped me out, where it's just like, yeah, as a character you can disagree and not want to drink the cum cup, but you have to acknowledge that cum cup exists.
Yeah, I was gonna say you don't act like the person doesn't have a cup.
yeah So that's how I feel. And Stevie J, I'm happy to talk more about that too. Like I love improv and I do miss it, but I liked it more when we did our you get a group of people that you click with, and then you just have a private and like a teacher, in which I got my favorite teacher, like, and just you get them to like mentor you, and that was great. All right, well, so no stream next Thursday, possibly one tomorrow night, and that will only be on Rumble. Let me post the Rumble link again. That'll be rumble.com/c/TheDimStream. I've got, where is it? I had Alex's channels and now it disappeared on this link. Hang on a second. Sleep Alex. There we go. I don't know why it disappeared. Alex has her own channel. So go there.
Pretty much all video game.
Yeah, she does gaming, if you like that. I have a Discord, so that's where we'll post links, and then, yeah, I think everyone just post it. Everyone else is probably like, Alex posts her gaming links in there, so this is just a place to go where you're like, I wanna know who's doing video stuff right now.
So I started Cyberpunk 2077 on Monday on live stream.
Yeah.
And when I was creating the character, there's a I made her hair, I did her face and everything, and then I went to go choose her nails and tits. Tits out in the open. And I after the stream was over, I got a ad suitability invitation.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Stevie's asking, did we quit on the Unsafe Space channel? Unsafe Space is moving more toward just written content, though. So, like, we moved the video stuff that we were doing over onto mine. I think Narrative Dissonance is moving over to Fridays, though, and changing up the direct
the change is coming on the 2nd. So
of December. Yeah, coming up in December, we might be switching that. And so yeah, there's just less video content, and they have on, oh my gosh, Substack, more written content on Substack. unsafespace.substack.com. I always forget the order of that. And I can find that link too. So yeah, we haven't quit, but we have moved over there.
Yeah.
I also have I have a Subscribestar. YouTube is not monetized, but you can do tips. I had to email them and say, like, hey, I don't have a tip button on Subscribestar. And so they had to like add it in for me because I don't know why they didn't, but it should be there. So you can subscribe monthly or just tip there. Rumble also does allow things. So you can super chat over on Rumble.
You can become a member on my channel. Because I am up to that point.
She's got monetization. I will maybe years from now get to that point. But yeah, so yeah, just find us everywhere. This is got Unsafe Space, got Alex's channel, got this channel, Rumble. But again, Friday stream, if we do move forward, it'll be late at night Fridays on my Rumble channel for occasional levity. And so but tomorrow we're still kind of figuring. I've been trying to do like the newspaper thing, and like the later at night, the easier it is for me because it's just like the less likely news will be going on, or after like 10 o'clock, I'm not going to go out and do news. But okay, anything else, Alex, that you need to advertise?
Buy my book. That's it.
Yeah, buy her book. Cyberpunk brings the nudity, says Metafetcher. Something like 100 subscribers in Rumble for free live streaming. Oh, if you get 100 subs, then you get to live stream for free. Is that what that means? I don't know.
Which I need subscribers on Rumble to stream over there.
Because it does give you for free. I just did the $10 a month. I decided to dish that out so we could be, because moving with like the news stuff, I'm like, I really want to make sure that we can, and I don't want to do it on YouTube. So, but then I already like that one stream, I made enough for the few months, so it's worth it. But okay, well, the only one, what, Winky, on there? There's on Subscribestar, there's a couple, but yeah, I will always take more. All right, well, thank you guys for watching. Well, hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night on Rumble if we are streaming. Again, I'll post it in the Discord, so join the Discord server. It's free. You don't have to pay any money. It's free and open to everyone, unless you're Winky Wanky Woo, who I'm going to block. But yeah, and then if not, then no stream next Thursday. Maybe we'll do it on Friday. I don't know. We'll see. There's a Santa parade on Black Friday, so but we'll see how tuckered out I am from hot chocolate and making wishes to Santa. All right. Well, thank you, Alex. Sorry that we went over time. So have a good night. Sleep tight. Hopefully your allergies will not keep you up.
Yeah, I took a Benadryl in the middle of the stream, so
I'm
able to go to
sleep. And thank you guys for watching, Coley, Winky, Stevie. I'm glad you found the channel now. So I'll see you guys next time. Let me play the opening for the ending. Bye. Sorry, I felt like I also need to say bye to Mutterfetcher. So that's my problem. Sorry about that. I just felt bad not saying because he's been here the whole time. So good night, Mutterfetcher. Okay,
Oh my
goodbye.
god.